Chapter 2176. Ping and Shun thought for a while and finally said, "I'm actually a Taoist priest, a disciple of my master." A Taoist priest has a disciple. Aren't monks the only ones with disciples? Ning Shu asked in surprise. A Taoist priest didn't differentiate between the sections. Wearing a cross necklace and saying that he was a Taoist priest was basically lying to his master. Ning Shu looked at the necklace on Ping and Shun's neck and said, "You're a Taoist priest, and you believe in Jesus?" Ping and Shun looked down at the necklace on his neck and didn't know what to say. He felt like he was being seen through. Even Hua Jingqing looked over. Ping and Shun was anxious and his forehead was sweating. He thought quickly and said, "My master said that I'm just a half-baked person. I saw that there were zombies, so maybe the cross necklace had a restraining effect on the zombies. That's why I wore one." Some young people wanted to be unique and would wear a skull or cross necklace on their necks. However, Ping and Shun was suddenly questioned by Ning Shu and he wasn't fully prepared. Plus, there were zombies surrounding them, so who would care about the necklace? The necklace was a very, very small thing, but Ning Shu used it to expose his lie. Ping and Shun was very unhappy and his hostility towards Ning Shu reached its peak. Did he see something and want to study and dissect him? Plus, Ping and Shun didn't tell the truth. Ning Shu said to Hua Jingqing, "There are so many zombies this time. I think we should get everyone's blood tested when we get back, so we don't get infected." Hua Jingqing thought for a while and said, "Okay." Ping and Shun's fingers on his leg trembled. He wanted to say something, but the leader of the team had already agreed. Anything he said now would be superfluous, and it would only make things worse. He didn't want to draw blood, but it wasn't up to him to say anything. The car bumped along the road. Even though there were zombies surrounding them, they couldn't keep up with the speed of the car. Finally, the car passed by the gas station and left the town. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. At least there weren't so many zombies surrounding them now. Fortunately, they gained a lot this time. Although they lost a few team members, the supplies in the supermarket were enough to fill a few cars. Hua Jingqing still felt that it was worth it. It was worth it to exchange the lives of a few people for so many supplies. The most precious thing in the apocalypse was not human lives, but resources that could keep people alive. Some people even opened their kettles. The kettles were filled with wine, and the aroma of wine wafted out of the car. Hua Jingqing kicked each of them. "What are you drinking for? We're not even completely safe yet, and you're already celebrating. When we get back to the base, even if you drink yourselves to death, no one will care. Now, cheer up." After a night of driving, they finally arrived at the entrance of the base. As the vehicles filled with supplies drove into the base, the people in the base cheered excitedly. Hua Jingqing was once again welcomed as a hero. His body was filled with respect. Ping and Shun looked at the huge base. In the future, he would stand out in this base and take root here. This base seemed to be quite powerful. Ning Shu jumped out of the truck and said to Hua Jingqing, "Gather the team members later. I'll draw some blood and take it back to the lab for testing. Just in case, no one knows if the zombies have mutated, or if their brains or blood can be infected." Ping and Shun was originally happy, but when he heard Ning Shu's words, he immediately fell to the bottom. He was originally happy. Why did he have to say that? Why did he have to draw blood? If someone was infected, they would turn into a zombie within 12 hours. Since no one had turned into a zombie after so long, it meant that no one was infected. With the help of Ning Shu and some other researchers, all of the team members had their blood drawn, including Ping and Shun. Ping and Shun was very unwilling to have his blood drawn. After returning to the lab, Ning Shu first put on his white lab coat, washed his hands, and took out Ping and Shun's blood for testing. As for the others, they were all just a cover. Ning Shu wanted to study Ping and Shun's blood. Ping and Shun was so resistant to the blood test. He might have been bitten by a zombie, but he didn't turn into a zombie. Obviously, it was because of the space. Ning Shu observed Ping and Shun's blood under the microscope. The cells in the blood were all normal human cells. There was nothing special about them. Compared to the rapidly dividing zombie cells, human cells divided very slowly. Generally speaking, the cell regeneration of human skin took about 28 days, the cell regeneration of bones took 7 to 10 years, the cell regeneration of lymphocytes took about 3 days, the cell regeneration of liver cells took about 1 year, the cell regeneration of immune cells took about 90 days, the cell regeneration of lymphocytes took about 2 days, and the cell regeneration of brain cells took a lifetime. If the brain cells didn't develop well, their IQ would be low for the rest of their lives. Of course, it would take time to accumulate wisdom. There was a limit to the number of times a cell could divide. When the cells stopped dividing, the human metabolism would stop and the human body would die. If the cell cycle was slow and the cycle was long, the human lifespan would be longer under the limited number of divisions. Ning Shu focused on Ping and Shun's cell cycle. When Ning Shu announced that no one in the team was infected with the zombie virus, Ping and Shun breathed a sigh of relief. When they returned to the base, Ning Shu basically stayed in the lab. Hua Jingqing had a new target, so he didn't bother Ning Shu every day. He didn't come to the lab to block her. Occasionally, she would hear that Hua Jingqing and Ping and Shun were getting closer and closer. When people talked about Ping and Shun, their tone was full of disdain. They said that Ping and Shun was a prostitute who was living a good life with Hua Jingqing. In short, it was better to hope that gold would fall from the sky than to hope that men would say nice things. Sometimes, they even dragged Ning Shu into it. They said that they only listened to the laughter of the new and not the tears of the old. Ning Shu was speechless. Since when did she cry? She cried for Hua Jingqing. If she could, she really wanted to set off firecrackers to celebrate Teddy's departure from her. She was sacrificing herself for the great scientific research, not for Hua Jingqing. Life in the base was too depressing. Every day was precarious, so everyone said all kinds of things without restraint. As long as they didn't kill people in the base, other entertainment activities, gambling, and so on were all supported. The gambling capital was all kinds of resources, a bar of soap, a box of biscuits, and so on. Money was useless now, and wiping one's butt was prickly. Any gossip at this time was simply interesting seasoning in a lonely and desperate life. Ning Shu had been observing Ping and Shun's condition and the cell cycle in his body. She used drugs to shorten the cell cycle by half. But even so, Ping Shuan's cells still divided very slowly even though the time it took for the cells to divide was shortened. Chapter 2177. According to the rate of cell division, Ping Shun could live to 80 years old under normal circumstances. However, his lifespan might double or even more under such circumstances. Ning Shu hurriedly told his colleagues in the research room about the situation and asked them to take a look at the cell division. Under the effect of the drug, the cell division was slower than that of a normal human. The wish of human beings to live a long life was about to be fulfilled. The slower the metabolism, the longer the lifespan. There was even a theory that the slower the heart rate, the longer the lifespan. For the sake of caution, the other researchers repeated the experiment over and over again. The mystery of the human body could never be fully explored. If there were any abnormalities, Ping Shun might be dragged to the research room to study his body structure. During this time, Hua Jingqing took Ping Shun out for another mission. This time, Ping Shun didn't ask Ning Shu to come along. He probably felt that it was a bit awkward for the three of them to travel together. Usually, when Ning Shu and Ping Shun met at the base, the two of them would look at each other without saying anything. Occasionally, they would greet each other coldly. Ping and Shun felt that this pretty boy with red lips and white teeth was like a fishbone stuck in his throat. He had to first gain a foothold in this base before dealing with this hidden danger. Otherwise, he would feel uncomfortable. The director of the research room reported Ping Shun's situation to the leader of the base. The research had not made any progress at all, which made the people in the research room feel pressured. Ning Shu told the director of the research room some of his speculations. He suspected that Ping Shun had been bitten by a zombie and that there were bite marks on his body. Ning Shu only said that he suspected because there were bite marks. However, he wasn't sure if it was caused by a zombie. After all, only he knew about it. The person in charge looked serious. If Ping and Shun's body could resist the zombie virus, then their research had made progress. Maybe there was something special in Ping and Shun's body, or a special gene that could prevent the zombie virus from infecting him. This way, the research would have a direction. However, this matter needed to be reported to the leader. He wanted to talk to Ping Shun and ask him to tell them the specific situation. Maybe he really was infected, but the zombie virus was hiding in his body. It didn't erupt like the others. Not to mention whether he was bitten by a zombie, the research room could study his cell division for a while. After all, longevity was the eternal dream of human beings. The person in charge of the research institute submitted the report, which attracted some attention. But now that Ping and Shun was out on a mission, they would have to wait until Ping and Shun returned to the base. Ning Shu was almost certain that Ping and Shun had been bitten by a zombie. In the plot, Hua Jingqing probably knew this as well, but he chose to protect Ping and Shun. Firstly, it was because of benefits. Secondly, Ping and Shun's strength was getting stronger day by day. There was no need for him to be afraid of anyone. Ning Shu wanted to take advantage of the fact that Ping and Shun hasn't grown up yet. He wanted Ping and Shun to stay in the research institute. As for 2333's suggestion to slowly remove Ping and Shun from the dimension, Ning Shu ignored it. The more time he gave Ping and Shun, the faster he would grow. When the time comes, she could summon a bunch of zombies with a wave of her hand. Would 2333 help her fight the zombies? Moreover, Ping and Shun was just an ordinary person in the base. Even if he had some connections with Hua Jingqing, he would still have to be sacrificed for the benefit of the majority. She just didn't know if Ping and Shun and Hua Jingqing had reached the stage where their relationship was stronger than gold. It shouldn't be possible in such a short time. Hua Jingqing emptied the supermarket. He didn't leave a single thing behind. Pots, pans, ladles, and even threads. Hua Jingqing had been in the limelight recently. The other teams couldn't even lift their heads. However, when he came back this time, he saw a row of soldiers. They said to him, "Please come with us, Ping and Shun." Hua Jingqing was stunned. He immediately asked sternly, "Ping and Shun is my team member. Why are you looking for him? Tell me." The soldier said, "Sorry, we just received an order. We don't know why the higher-ups are looking for Ping and Shun. Please don't make things difficult for us." These people were very polite to Hua Jingqing because of his ability and the many medals on his chest. "Who is Ping and Shun? Please come with us." The soldier asked the team. Ping and Shun had a bad feeling in his heart. However, he calmed himself down. Especially when he saw that these soldiers were all armed, Ping and Shun felt even worse. He wanted to run, but he couldn't. Ping and Shun had no choice but to step forward and say, "I am Ping and Shun." Hua Jingqing asked his men to go back and rest. He said to Ping and Shun, "I'll go with you." With Hua Jingqing with him, Ping and Shun was slightly relieved. With someone with power following him, there should be a chance of survival. Ping and Shun was thinking about whether he should just leave the base. He would be alone outside. When he collected enough zombies in his space, he wouldn't have to be afraid of anyone anymore. Ping and Shun raised his head and saw Ning Shu leaning on the railing. For a moment, Ping and Shun felt that this matter had something to do with this man. He had been holding it in because this man had stolen his man. Ping and Shun had heard about the relationship between Hua Jingqing and Ji Ziang. What was the name? A few sheep? However, a few sheep had never questioned him and Hua Jingqing. They might have already acquiesced to the breakup of this relationship. But now, they were playing dirty tricks. Ping and Shun thought about the blood draw from before. He was afraid that a few sheep had done something to him. Hua Jingqing followed Ping and Shun's gaze and saw Ji Xiang upstairs. He couldn't help but frown. Ning Shu saw that Ping and Shun was taken away by the soldiers. Hua Jingqing accompanied him the whole time. It was probably true love. In fact, Ning Shu didn't feel much about true love. You just needed to love each other. However, there were always some people who would become the victims of true love. The word true love was a word dripping with blood. Love without twists and turns, without temptation, without other people's sacrifice and heartbreak, couldn't show the steadfastness and difficulty of true love. Ning Shu and Ping and Shun both wanted to deal with each other. They just needed to seize the opportunity. It was a feeling that didn't need to be explained. Although Hua Jingqing was with Ping and Shun, he wasn't allowed to enter when they arrived at the door. Hua Jingqing frowned. What did Ping and Shun have that made the people in the base so cautious? Ji Xiang must know the inside story. Hua Jingqing immediately went to the research institute to block Ning Shu. You know what's going on, right? Hua Jingqing asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu shrugged. Maybe Ping and Shun is talented in some aspect and the leader noticed it. Nonsense. Be serious. Hua Jingqing frowned in annoyance. Chapter 2178. It was clearly a matter of life and death, yet Ji Xiang was still acting so nonchalant, which made Hua Jingqing very annoyed. I'm serious. Why do the people at the base want Ping Shun to be questioned? Hua Jingqing asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu spread his hands. I don't know either. You're talking as if I should know. How would I know something that even you, Captain Hua, don't know? Hua Jingqing pinched the space between his eyebrows and looked sharply at Ning Shu. If I find out that this has something to do with you, Ji Xiang, you'll be in big trouble. Ning Shu laughed in his heart. It was hard to say who would be the unlucky one. Ning Shu only said, this has nothing to do with me. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Instead of wasting your time here, why don't you ask someone else? Ask someone who knows. Think about it yourself. Is there anything special about Ping and Shun? Or is there anything strange about him? Otherwise, he wouldn't have attracted the attention of the higher-ups. Ning Shu's face was full of benevolence. You still want to blame me? Hua Jingqing looked at Ning Shu. You'd better not let me find out that you're trying to frame me. Otherwise, I'll shoot you. Ning Shu clicked his tongue. So that's how it is. Fortunately, I didn't have anything to do with you before. With your ruthless character, it's really bad luck to have anything to do with you. Oh, are you blaming me for abandoning you? Hua Jingqing pursed his lips and looked at Ning Shu. Don't forget that you're the one who's been acting all high and mighty all this time. Do I, Hua Jingqing, have to beg for your favor like a dog? Ning Shu quickly waved his hand. No, I didn't say anything about abandoning you. You and Ping Shun can live happily ever after. You're lucky, you don't have to be shy or impatient. This has nothing to do with me. Also, if anything happens to Ping Shun, you blame it on me. Do I look like a scapegoat? Hua Jingqing snorted coldly and turned around to leave. He was probably going to ask someone about Ping Shun. Ping and Shun hadn't been in the base for long. It was impossible for him to attract the attention of the higher-ups. There were so many people in the base. How could the higher-ups have the time to pay attention to an ordinary person? Besides, Hua Jingqing didn't think there was anything special about Ping and Shun. In terms of looks, he didn't have Ji Xiang's red lips and white teeth. In terms of ability, he didn't have much ability. After training, his gun skills were barely passable. There was nothing special about him. Perhaps it was because of Ping and Shun's special constitution that it attracted the attention of the higher-ups. Other than that, Hua Jingqing couldn't think of anything special about Ping and Shun. Ping Anshuan was brought to a dark room by the soldiers. Then, the lights in the room were switched on. Ping Anshuan felt that the light was a little dazzling, so he used his hand to block the light. Then, he saw that there were 3 people in the room, and they looked like they were interrogating a criminal. Ping Anshuan had a bad feeling. His eyes flashed with timidity and guilt. At this time, Ping Anshuan was hiding many secrets, but his current strength was not enough for him to protect these secrets. The people in the room saw Ping Anshuan's expression and politely asked Ping and Shun to sit down. Ping and Shun sat across from the 3 people. His hands were tightly clasped together under the table. Don't be nervous. We just brought you here to ask you some questions. Just tell us the truth. Ping and Shun nodded. I understand. Your name is Ping and Shun. You are 25 years old this year. Ping and Shun, we want to ask you if you have been bitten by a zombie before. The person who asked the question asked directly without any hesitation. Ping and Shun's face flashed with guilt. He quickly shook his head and said, No, I haven't been bitten by a zombie. If I had been bitten by a zombie, how could I still be human? I would have become a zombie a long time ago. Why are you asking me such an obvious question? Ping and Shun was most afraid of people asking about this matter. At that time, he was bitten by a zombie. When he was about to die, for some unknown reason, a space appeared in his body. Because of this space, the zombie virus in his body disappeared. Ping and Shun didn't know whether the virus disappeared or was suppressed. That was why he was still alive. The space could absorb zombies and turn them into its own fighting force. After obtaining the space's safety, it was able to survive and escape. Now that someone asked this question, Ping and Shun was shocked and angry. He almost gritted his teeth and said, You are the ones who were bitten by a zombie. Then can we check your body? The person who asked Ping and Shun asked. Ping and Shun's expression had been seen by these people. It meant that the person in front of them was hiding something. Ping and Shun's body stiffened when he heard that he was going to check his body. He shook his head and said, No, I don't agree. Why don't you agree? We just need to make sure that you have not been bitten by a zombie. This way, everyone will have no doubts. Is there a special reason why you can't take off your clothes? Is it because you have been bitten by a zombie? No, I. Ping and Shun's face was red. He finally said, I am gay. I am not used to taking off my clothes in front of men. Ping and Shun found a reason that was not a reason. The person who asked the question, That's easy. We can find a woman to check you. The person who asked the question blocked Ping and Shun's reason. Ping and Shun was so anxious that his whole body was sweating. He looked around and saw that there were iron windows and thick iron doors in this room. It was not easy to get out. He had to defeat the 3 people in front of him first. There were guards outside the door. He also had to escape before the base sent out the alarm. Moreover, he had to avoid being caught by the people in the base. The process was very difficult. Moreover, his weapon was confiscated when he entered the room. He had no weapon to defeat the people in front of him, or he could let the zombies in his space kill the 3 people in front of him. Ping and Shun despaired as he realized that he was too weak, and he had to fight against an entire base. It was too despairing. Do you want a man to check you or a woman? We can arrange for someone. Ping and Shun, who asked the question, didn't say anything. He lowered his head and rolled his eyes. It was obvious that he didn't have good intentions. I refuse to check. Please tell me what crime I committed. Why do you need to check my body? I have human rights. It is illegal for you to check my body before confirming my crime. Ping and Shun said directly, This is my body. You are not allowed to check my body. There was no need to mention the humiliation of having her naked body being touched here and there. Chapter 2179. The person who asked the question felt that he should try peaceful means before resorting to force to avoid wrongly accusing a person. Moreover, this person seemed to have some relationship with Hu Jingqing. If you don't want to give face to the monk, you have to give face to the Buddha. However, he spoke gently, but the other party didn't seem to care about him, so he used force. If he was really innocent, it would be fine to check him. However, if he kept dragging his feet and refusing to be checked, there must be something wrong. He pressed the bell on the table directly, and the guard outside the door came in. Take off his clothes and check his body. See if there are any injuries on his body. The person who asked the question said coldly. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Ping and Shun immediately stood up, and the chair fell to the ground. Don't come over. A soldier can be killed but not humiliated. I just don't want to be checked. Do you still have human rights when you force people like this? No human rights. In this apocalyptic world, no one will investigate if you kill someone. Even if you die in this room, no one will say anything. Moreover, it's just a check on your body. If you refuse to do so, it means that you have a guilty conscience. What do you mean by guilty conscience? I'm a good person, and you want to check me? You're too arrogant. I have the right to refuse such an insulting check. Ping and Shun said as he retreated to the wall. There was no way to escape and he was surrounded by the guards. I said, don't provoke me. Ping and Shun warned with a cold face. Don't come over. Ping and Shun really wanted to release the zombies, but releasing the zombies was even more unbelievable than being bitten by the zombies. He would be treated like a monster. However, if the marks on his body were found after the check, he couldn't escape. Ping and Shun felt that he was now forced to the edge of a cliff. He couldn't advance or retreat. There was no way to solve the problem in front of him. Why couldn't that space remove the marks on his body? Since it could suppress the zombie virus, why couldn't it restore his skin to its previous state? Ping and Shun was now hoping that someone could come and save him. As long as he escaped this time, he couldn't be trapped anymore. He wanted to leave this base. He couldn't stay in this base anymore. His secret could be discovered at any time. Moreover, he couldn't resist a base with his own strength. Ping and Shun made up his mind. After he escaped this time, he would bring his zombie army and destroy this base. He would not be polite at all and would let these people have a taste of their own medicine. Bang, bang. The door was kicked open. Hu Jingqing had a gun in his hand, and his team members were all armed to the teeth. Hu Jingqing, what are you doing? The face of the person who asked the question darkened. The base valued Hu Jingqing a lot. Hu Jingqing saw that Ping and Shun was being pressed to the ground, and his collar had already been pulled open. Hu Jingqing's anger flashed through his eyes. He was so angry that he laughed and said to the person who asked the question, Captain Li, what do you mean by this? When did my subordinates get treated like this by you? Captain Li said coldly, it's not like I want to do anything to him. It's the higher-ups who want to ask him questions. He should just cooperate obediently. If he insists on being so stubborn, what can we do? If the soft approach doesn't work, we can only use the hard approach. Ping and Shun saw that Hu Jingqing had brought people to save him. His heart warmed, and his eyes turned red. His heart ached, and he almost cried. Hu Jingqing sneered and said to Captain Li, why are you looking at his body? I know my men's bodies the best. You can ask me anything. Hu Jingqing's words made the atmosphere weird. What did he mean by, you know my men's bodies? Thinking of Hu Jingqing's peaceful relationship with Ping and Shun, these two people must be honest with each other. Ping and Shun was speechless. Now, he wasn't touched at all. What a bastard. How dare he say such words in front of so many people? He should be struck by lightning. Then, are there any marks on his body, such as teeth marks or scratches? Captain Li asked. This was his mission, and he had to complete it. If he couldn't complete such a simple mission, the higher-ups would doubt his ability to work. Captain Li was angry and jealous of Hu Jingqing, but he couldn't do anything to him. He couldn't help but feel weak in front of Hu Jingqing. Hu Jingqing glanced at Ping and Shun. Ping and Shun raised his head and looked into Hu Jingqing's eyes. Hu Jingqing should know his body very well. Hu Jingqing looked away expressionlessly and said, "No, there are no marks on his body. His skin is smooth and his skin is very good, very good." Hu Jingqing's expression was very flirtatious and he enjoyed it very much. It was as if he had already touched Ping and Shun's skin. Ping and Shun was touched and wanted to kick Hu Jingqing's face. Captain Li's face darkened. "What are you doing?" A dignified voice sounded from the door. A middle-aged man in a military uniform walked in with many soldiers behind him. "Sir." Hu Jingqing and Captain Li quickly saluted. The officer looked at the small dark room and looked at Captain Li. "I asked you to check. How did it end up like this?" "This." Captain Li looked at Hu Jingqing. Hu Jingqing looked at the officer and said carelessly, "Sir, you should have told me that you touched my people. I can't even protect my own brother. Isn't this a joke?" The officer was quite nice to Hu Jingqing. He said, "It's precisely because he's your subordinate that I let Little Li take over. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Why did you bring so many people with you? Training? This is nonsense. Hurry up and take him away. That's my man." Hu Jingqing pointed at Ping and Shun. "Check him. If there's nothing wrong, let him go," the officer said. Hu Jingqing immediately frowned. What was going on? Ping and Shun was a little desperate. So he still had to be checked. "Sir, okay, this matter is settled. I'm the one who came today. If it were anyone else, they would have locked you up long ago," the officer said firmly. Ping and Shun was being escorted. Someone began to take off Ping and Shun's clothes. Hu Jingqing wanted to say something, but when he saw the serious expression on the officer's face, he couldn't say anything. Especially when Ping and Shun stared at him with tears in his eyes, it made his heart ache. Ping and Shun was like a beast that had been forced to the extreme. His eyes were filled with despair and viciousness. Ping and Shun took a deep breath and released the zombie. The zombie that appeared in an instant tore the soldier in front of him in half. Blood splattered everywhere. This sudden event made everyone feel like they were in a dream. Otherwise, there was no way to explain this absurd scene. Chapter 2180. Zombies appeared in the small dark room, and they appeared in an instant. This was the base. How could there be zombies in the base? Since he had been discovered, Ping and Shun decided to fight. He released more than 10 zombies, which he had recently collected in the space. "Shoot!" The officer quickly calmed down and shot the zombies in the head. These zombies moved quickly. As soon as they came out, they slaughtered the people in the room. It seemed that killing people could arouse the zombies' interest. They were much more powerful than killing zombies. They scratched, bit, and even twisted necks. When humans were alive, their skin was elastic. Although they wouldn't be twisted like zombies, they wouldn't be able to survive. Hu Jingqing was also shocked. What was going on? There were zombies, and where did the zombies come from? However, his body moved faster than his mind. He held the gun and shot at the zombies' heads. However, these zombies seemed to move faster than normal zombies. Ping and Shun shouted, "Let me out, or I will release more zombies." Hu Jingqing looked at Ping and Shun with a complicated expression. He seemed to have never understood this man. This man under her body could release zombies. Why didn't he go to heaven? The officer's face was cold. "What do you want?" "Let me go," Ping Shun said. He didn't look at Hu Jingqing's complicated expression. He was now forced to the point where he had no other choice. He didn't want to be exposed like this. Under the strong firepower, several zombies' heads had already exploded. Some bullets passed through the zombies' heads, but the heads didn't explode. The zombies were still able to move. No one had expected that a simple question would lead to such a situation. The officer decided to treat this man as an SSS-level dangerous person. He didn't know if he was a human or a zombie. For such a dangerous mission, the base had already offended him. Only destruction awaited. Otherwise, the entire base would suffer. The only way was to eliminate the source of the problem. Ning Shu was in the research room. She heard from others that zombies had appeared in the detention room. Someone could control zombies. In this world, other than humans, there were no other zombies that could compete with humans. If someone could control zombies, wouldn't they be invincible? Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. She wanted them to find out that Ping Shun's body had been bitten by a zombie before and that he could resist the zombie virus. That way, they could study his body. However, they didn't expect that Ping Shun would actually release zombies. This was even more frightening than being able to resist the zombie virus. He could summon zombies anytime and anywhere, just like summoning ghosts. How could they not be shocked when they suddenly appeared? This was not scientific. It wouldn't be easy for Ping Shun to leave the base unless someone helped him. He wondered how Hu Jingqing would feel when he saw that Ping Shun could turn into a zombie anytime. Ning Shu also followed his colleagues over there to watch the fun, but he was very far away. What if he was accidentally hurt? Ning Shu put his hands in the pockets of his white coat to observe the situation. He didn't expect Ping Shun to be so reckless as to release the zombies. More and more teams headed towards the small dark room and surrounded it. Even with Hu Jingqing's help, the chances of successfully escaping from the base were slim. Did they really think that the base was useless? The colleague next to him looked at the zombies and was very surprised. These zombies are different from other zombies. They don't seem to attack Ping Shun. Could it be that these zombies were more intelligent than other zombies? Could it be that the zombies' brains were implanted with chips? That's impossible. Another colleague retorted. We haven't reached that level yet. You can go back and try implanting chips in the zombies' brains. The zombie's body is already dead. Ning Shu listened silently. He didn't participate in the conversation. The world was so big, there were still many mysteries that had not been discovered. Some things could not be explained by science. Ping Shun stood in the middle of the encirclement with several zombies standing beside him. This scene was really strange. How could zombies and humans stand together so harmoniously and not attack humans? It was really confusing. The officer seemed to want to capture Ping Shun alive. He didn't shoot Ping Shun and ordered the zombies to be killed. Sigh, how good would it be if we could study these zombies? What is the reason why these zombies don't attack Ping Shun? The colleague looked at the zombies with burning eyes. Ning Shu said, there will definitely be a chance to study it. Even if you don't want to study it, the people above will let you study it. It was so abnormal that people would feel uneasy if they didn't study it. Moreover, it was already past the era where things couldn't be explained, so they could only use ghosts to explain. When they encountered something they didn't understand, they could study it. The situation was like this. Ping Shun was now riding a tiger. If he was caught, he would only have the fate of being sent to the research institute. However, he couldn't force a way out. He didn't have that many zombies to help him break out. Ping Shun couldn't help but look at Hu Jingqing. There was a pleading look in his eyes. Save me, save me. Hu Jingqing's heart was in a mess, but he also understood that Ping Shun was weak. Even if he joined, he might not be able to leave the base. There was no way he could compete with the power of the base. Hua Jingqin felt that Ping and Shun was hiding something very well. If he had told him about this earlier and let him prepare in advance, this wouldn't have happened. Hua Jingqin shook his head. Ping and Shun's eyes suddenly dimmed. Hua Jingqin was right. They only had that kind of relationship. Hua Jingqin wouldn't risk his life for him and become the enemy of the entire base. Ping and Shun decided to release the zombies that had just merged into his body space. These zombies might hurt the enemy 1,000 times, but they might also attack him and not listen to him. Hua Jingqin saw Ping and Shun's determined expression and immediately said loudly, "Ping and Shun, don't be impulsive. If there's anything, we can talk about it. Being impulsive won't solve anything. The most important thing now was to stay alive." Ping and Shun's heart was filled with grief and anger. He must have been framed. The person who framed him was the researcher. Ping and Shun knew that if he was caught, he would definitely be locked up for research. Then, he would live a dark life. His glorious life had just begun. He would rather die than live in dishonor. When the officer saw that Ping and Shun didn't listen to his advice, he directly aimed at Ping and Shun's leg. There was a large artery in the thigh. If he didn't pay attention, it was very likely that he would bleed profusely. However, he couldn't care less about that now. No. Hua Jingqin's voice was hoarse. He watched the bullet fly towards Ping and Shun. Chapter 2181. The sound of a bullet entering flesh was the sound of a bullet. A bloody hole immediately appeared on Ping and Shun's thigh, and blood spurted out. Ping and Shun fell to the ground and covered his thigh. He fainted from the intense pain. The officer quickly ordered his men to take care of the zombie and tied a rope around Ping and Shun's thigh to prevent excessive blood loss. Ping and Shun was carried away on a stretcher. "Capture a zombie alive and send it to the research institute," the officer ordered. The soldiers threw down a net and tied the zombie's body up. The net shrunk, and the zombie inside couldn't move. It was dragged to the research institute. Ning Shu said, "Here comes our work." The zombies were locked in the bulletproof glass. The zombies seemed to be very irritable. They slammed the glass loudly, as if they were going to break the bulletproof glass. It made people feel intimidated. The thick bulletproof glass did not give them any sense of security. "Should we inject a tranquilizer?" A colleague said timidly, but the others immediately rolled their eyes. Would tranquilizers work on zombies? What an idiot. This zombie was more energetic than the other zombies. It kept banging on the bulletproof glass, which made the people in the research institute tremble. No one rushed in. If they went in, they wouldn't be able to come out. They would definitely be torn apart by the zombies. They had no choice but to study the dead zombie first. The researchers began to study the structure of the zombie's body. Ping and Shun was carried to the hospital in the base for emergency treatment. The bullet in his thigh was taken out and the bleeding stopped. However, the door was full of guards to prevent him from escaping. Hua Jingqin was also guarding the door of the ward. When the base doctor said that the patient was fine, he was relieved. Although Ping and Shun acted strangely, Hua Jingqin was still worried about him. Hua Jingqin wanted to go in to see Ping and Shun, but he was stopped by the guards. No one was allowed to visit Ping and Shun now. Hua Jingqin glanced at the ward and wiped his face to find Ning Shu. The research institute was very busy now. Everyone had a task to do. Ping and Shun's zombie had been dismembered. They were now studying it to see if there was any difference between these zombies and other zombies. Her colleague told Hua Jingqin to wait for her outside. Not everyone could enter the research institute. Secondly, there were dangerous things in the research institute. Outsiders could get into trouble if they came in and encountered something. Ning Shu only responded with an "oh" and continued with the work at hand. He didn't plan to go out and argue with Hua Jingqin. He didn't even need to think to know that Hua Jingqing was here to criticize him. What did it have to do with her if something happened to Ping and Shun? Shouldn't she have reported the abnormality in Ping and Shun's blood? This was the decision of the entire research institute. She added fuel to the fire, and Hua Jingqing came to her. Ning Shu expressed that she was really busy. Hua Jingqing waited outside the research institute, but Ning Shu didn't come out. He immediately kicked the wall angrily, but it hurt, and a trace of pain flashed across his face. Hua Jingqing decided to wait here until Ji Xiang came out. He didn't believe that Ji Xiang would stay in the research institute forever. Ji Xiang must know the inside story. With Ping and Shun's strange condition, he would definitely be sent to the research institute to be studied once his body recovered. Don't ask why, but Hua Jingqing felt that Ji Xiang couldn't get away from this. He used to be quiet, but he didn't expect him to be hiding something. Plus, Ping and Shun was in the research institute. Whether he lived or died wasn't up to the researchers, so he had to greet Ji Xiang no matter what. As soon as Ning Shu came out of the research institute, she felt a gust of wind blow towards her. Ning Shu blocked the leg with her arm and took 2 steps back. She looked at Hua Jingqing with a half-smile. Captain Hua's way of greeting me is so special. Ning Shu glanced at the area 3 inches below Hua Jingqing's navel. She didn't know if Hua Jingqing could still hold his head high. Although the power of the fiery sun was very destructive, Ning Shu only used a little bit of it. It would destroy Hua Jingqing's kidney meridians, and it would affect his kidneys. A person's qi came from the kidneys, which stored the qi that was born in the mother's womb. People who indulged in sex had weak kidneys, so they used up the qi. It would probably take a while for the qi to lose its effect. Anyway, it wouldn't have anything to do with her. Hua Jingqing looked at Ning Shu. What's going on? Ning Shu crossed her arms and said casually, do you want to know? Tell me, what do you want? Hua Jingqing said. Ning Shu quickly shook her head. I don't dare to take your things. If I take your things, you'll say that I'm forcing you. You'll take revenge on me in the future. I'm scared. Hua Jingqing didn't want to talk nonsense with Ning Shu. I'm just asking you, what's going on with Ping and Shun? Sai, you're the closest person to Ping and Shun. You don't even know that I know. Okay, don't be jealous. It's just that last time I said that I was going to draw blood from a team member, and then the people at the research institute found that Ping and Shun's situation was a bit special. I was just asking nicely, but who knew that something like this would happen? I didn't expect Ping and Shun to be able to control zombies. Then you know what happened next. Hua Jingqing looked at Ning Shu. Did you have a plan before this? Ning Shu was astonished. What am I plotting? What do I have to plot? It's because I'm close to Ping and Shun that you're using this method to frame him. Hua Jingqing stared at Ning Shu's expression, not letting go of a single trace of Ning Shu's expression. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. How could I frame him? Did I make him create zombies out of thin air? Did I make him have a special body? There are so many people at the research institute. Do you think a small researcher like me has the right to make these decisions? Hua Jingqing, are you out of your mind? Don't put all the blame on me. You've been with him day and night, and you don't even know that. How could I know anything about Ping and Shun when I don't know anything about him? Don't talk about this in front of me. Also, don't try to drag me to replace Ping and Shun. I don't have that ability, and I don't have a special body. Ning Shu said bluntly. If she didn't act strong, she would think that she was easy to bully. She would question her as soon as something happened. Do you really think that you can feel superior in front of me just because we had something in the past? You're nothing in my heart. Hua Jingqing snorted. If anything happens to Ping and Shun, I'll kill you. Don't talk to me about being wronged. Your life is now tied to Ping and Shun's. If he dies, I'll kill you too. How domineering. If he dies, you'll all die with him. Crazy. Chapter 2182. Ning Shu felt that she was really unlucky to know Hu Jingqing. He specifically picked on people he knew and bullied them. Otherwise, why would Hu Jingqing threaten her instead of other researchers? Weren't you just relying on the fact that the two of them knew each other and had some friction in the past? Now, you're threatening your ex for the sake of your current lover. He even wanted someone to protect his current lover. It wouldn't be too much to kill him. So, you want to tie me to Ping and Shun. Do you think Ping and Shun will be fine? Ning Shu pursed her lips, feeling speechless. That was what Hu Jingqing meant. If nothing unexpected happened, Ping and Shun would definitely be sent to the research institute. At this time, they had to find someone who was connected to Ping and Shun's life. If anything happens to Ping and Shun, or if he dies, you will die too. You can treat this as a threat. So, you have to think of a way to protect Ping and Shun. You can't let anything happen to him. Hu Jingqing pulled out his gun and pointed it at Ning Shu. You can only live if he lives. Don't point a gun at me. I don't like it. Ning Shu hated guns. When he wasn't on a mission, he was pointed at by a gun. Now that he was on a mission, he was being pointed at again. This feeling was really fucking unpleasant. Hu Jingqing's expression was cold. You better take my words to heart. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. It's not impossible to protect Ping and Shun's life, but I have a condition. Ning Shu leaned against the wall and said lazily. You can ask for anything. I can fulfill it for you. But in exchange, if Ping and Shun dies, I will cut you into pieces. Ning Shu said directly, give me back the beef you took from me. The more you take from me, the more upset Ping and Shun will be. I can't lose anything, including the things I lost before. Send them to my dorm now. Hu Jingqing nodded. That's easy. I'll get someone to send a box of beef to your dorm. A box? Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at Hu Jingqing. Hu Jingqing's expression was cold. How much do you want? I didn't ask for much. You should give me back what you took from me. Ning Shu put his hands into the pockets of his white coat and straightened his back to look at Hu Jingqing. If I eat well, Ping and can eat well too. Hu Jingqing laughed coldly, Ji Ziang, you're getting bolder and bolder. You even dare to ask me for things now. Do you think you've grasped my weakness? Ning Shu shook his head and refuted Hu Jingqing's words. Correction, I'm not asking for anything from you, I'm taking back what's mine. There's no such thing as asking for anything. Don't make me sound like a beggar. Also, I don't know if Ping'an is your weakness, but it has nothing to do with me. Hu Jingqing looked at the man with red lips and white teeth. His heart itched so much that he wanted to press him to the ground and rub him against the ground. He originally thought that he was a gentle and harmless man, but he didn't expect him to be so difficult to deal with. Humph, the things you want will be sent to your dorm. Hu Jingqing had to make plans for Ping'an. Even if he had to lower his head to others, he had to think of a way to see Ping'an. Ping'an was really mean. If he had known about this beforehand, he wouldn't have agreed to donate blood at that time. If there was anything you wanted to say, just say it. There were many opportunities to say it, but Ping'an didn't tell him. This made Hu Jingqing's heart a little cold. Because of their skin contact, the two of them could be loyal to each other, but he didn't expect this guy to keep such a big secret. Ning Shu, there's canned beef to eat. Ning Shu returned to the dorm, and a guard sent 3 boxes of canned beef over. Ning Shu was very satisfied. He moved the canned beef into the room and tasted one of them. He felt like he was alive. Although he didn't need to eat with the fasting pill, his tongue didn't taste anything. Now that he had eaten something, his numb tongue finally had a sense of taste. When Ping'an's wound was almost healed, he was secretly sent to the Research Institute. The Research Institute was now a highly confidential place. During this time, Hu Jingqing tried all kinds of ways to see Ping An, but the base classified Ping An as an SSS-level dangerous person and prohibited anyone from contacting him. Even Hu Jingqing couldn't find a way to see Ping An. Hu Jingqing even begged the officer, but was told that he couldn't. Ping An was injected with tranquilizers and sent to the Research Institute. Everyone in the institute surrounded Ping An and looked at Hu Jingqing. He looked like an ordinary man. Some drew blood, some studied his hair, and some wanted to cut open Ping An's stomach. However, the higher-ups said that they couldn't harm Ping An's life. They had to do all kinds of research. How could a dead person be more valuable than a living person? Ning Shu took a tube of blood drawn from a zombie. It wasn't really blood, but the body fluid of a zombie. He had to inject it into Ping An's body. Xiao Ji, don't do this first. If he can't resist the zombie virus and turns into a zombie, we can't explain it to the higher-ups. When the others saw that Ning Shu was about to inject the virus, they immediately stopped him. Who knew if Ping An could really resist the virus? Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders with some regret. Well, let's first study how he could release the zombies in an instant. Could it be a wormhole? It's a special method to bring the surrounding zombies here. Someone guessed. Ning Shu said in his heart, Ping An didn't have a great ability. That was the law of space. Impossible. If there were zombies in other places, why didn't the zombies bite him? Don't zombies bite people when they see them? But Ping An's zombies are protecting him. Someone retorted. Ning Shu said, maybe these zombies ran out of Ping An's body. Suppose there's a space like a house in Ping An's body. He put the zombies in the space of his body so that he can release them at any time. When the crowd heard this, they shook their heads. It's a bit strange, and we did a physical examination for Ping An, and there was no such thing. Maybe that space is a piece of intestine or a gallstone. Didn't the Buddhist scriptures say that there is a world in a grain of sand? Ning Shu's expression said, I'm just talking nonsense, I'm just saying. The others rolled their eyes and went to do their own things. Ping An woke up and looked at the white ceiling. His head was empty. Then he looked around and saw all kinds of instruments and experimental props. He was sent to the Research Institute. He still couldn't escape this fate. Chapter 2183. You're awake. Ning Shu stood by the bed and watched Ping An Shun struggle, but he was firmly tied to the bed and couldn't move at all. Let me go, let me go. Ping An Shun's face was red, and there were all kinds of instruments on his body to record his heartbeat and physical condition. He didn't even need to get out of bed to relieve himself. Ping An Shun felt that this was an extreme insult. He was locked in the bulletproof glass like a lab rat for these people to study. Don't move, you'll be fine. Don't worry. Ning Shu comforted Ping An Shun, we just want to know how you can resist the zombie virus and release zombies. Get out. Ping An Shun spat out Ning Shu. He had no other weapons at this time, so he could only express his anger in this way. When the other zombies in the space mature and become obedient, he must tear this person to pieces. Ning Shu avoided Ping An Shun's spit and closed the bulletproof glass with an indifferent expression. Ping An Shun was trembling with anger. Through the bulletproof glass, he looked at the busy researchers in white coats coming and going. These people were all crazy, all perverts. They looked at him as if he was a lab rat, their eyes were burning hot. Anyway, they didn't look at him like he was a human. These perverts. The Research Institute's current task was to let the zombie virus fuse with Ping An Shun's blood to see if anything would happen. If the blood didn't work, they might even cut open his stomach and take out some of his liver cells for research. Under the microscope, they would observe the situation of the two and observe the serum samples. In addition to the research, they had to take good care of Ping and Shun. When the time came, they had to feed Ping and Shun. They couldn't let him starve to death, and they also had to clean up his filth. Ning Shu held the pig liver rice and fed it to Ping and Shun. Pig liver nourished the blood, and eating more could replenish the blood loss. Ping and Shun tilted his head and refused to eat. Ning Shu turned his face, "Eat, no one can starve themselves. I also promised Hua Jingqing to take care of you." Ping and Shun sneered, "You can't wait for me to die, and you're pretending to be obedient in front of Hua Jingqing. Why are you pretending to be obedient? I asked Hua Jingqing for 3 boxes of canned beef. It has nothing to do with pretending to be obedient." Ning Shu stuffed the rice in the spoon into Ping and Shun's mouth. Ping Anshuan choked. Ning Shu gave him a little more water. Ping Anshuan swallowed the thing stuck in his throat with great difficulty. "Ji Ziang, you're really treacherous. As your research subject, I won't die, but you asked Hua Jingqing for supplies." Ping and Shun felt that this person was shameless. Of course, Ning Shu knew that Ping Shun wouldn't die even if he entered the research institute. However, why wouldn't he want something that he could get? It would be good to scare Hua Jingqing. Ning Shu felt that although Ping and Shun wouldn't die, it was basically impossible for him to leave the research institute in this lifetime, unless something unexpected happened. Under Ning Shu's rough feeding mode, Ping finished the bowl of pig liver rice smoothly. Ning Shu took a tissue and wiped his mouth. Good boy. Psychopath. Researchers were all psychopaths, especially those in science. What kind of human-zombie hybrid was this? It was disgusting and perverted. Ping and Shun narrowed his eyes and saw Ning Shu open the bulletproof glass door. Suddenly, a zombie was released. The zombie clawed at Ning Shu's back. Ning Shu stepped on the bulletproof glass wall and did a backflip. He jumped behind the zombie, pulled out his gun and pointed it at the zombie's head. With a bang, the zombie's head exploded. The headless zombie rushed over to Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly ran out of the bulletproof glass room and locked the door. He took out a medical device from the cabinet. It was a chainsaw. He turned on the switch and entered the room. The headless zombie rushed over. Ning Shu waved the chainsaw in his hand and cut the zombie in half. The zombie fell to the ground with a thud. Ning Shu looked at Ping and Shun, who was lying on the bed. "I wanted to be polite to you for Hua Jingqing's sake, but you don't seem to appreciate it. Forget it then. Since you don't want to eat, we'll eat once every 2 days." Ning Shu dragged the 2 halves of the zombie out of the room. Ping and Shun's face was pale. Through the bulletproof glass, he saw that the people outside were gathered together to study something. He couldn't hear what they were talking about. He thought that he could kill Ji Ziang, but a few sheep escaped. He thought that Ji Ziang was just a researcher. He didn't expect him to be so skilled. He lost a zombie. It's so dangerous. How did the zombie appear? Yeah, and there's bulletproof glass. If it was ingested, how did it get into the room? Everyone was really puzzled. This was too strange. Was there really a room in Ping and Shun's body that could store things? The people in the research institute reported this matter. This kind of thing had to be reported to the higher-ups. This person was really ridiculous. It was too bizarre. Because of this, no one dared to feed Ping and Shun. If a zombie appeared, they would definitely be eaten by zombies. Not everyone was as lucky as Xiao Ji. Previously, Ping and Shun had gone on a hunger strike to protest, but now, no one cared about his hunger strike at all. They didn't even dare to go in and give Ping and Shun a bottle of water or a nutrient injection. They just watched as Ping and Shun was so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. Ping and Shun was speechless. He was so damn hungry. When Ping and Shun was starving, Ning Shu went in to feed Ping and Shun. The others didn't dare to do so, so they pushed Ning Shu in. This time, he fed Ping and Shun. Ping and Shun was well behaved. He just ate and didn't say anything. He didn't dare to summon zombies out. They would be killed as soon as they came out. Ping and Shun found that the longer the zombie stayed in the space, the more powerful it was. Just like the previous zombie, it could kill enemies without a head. He endured it for the time being and made a more powerful zombie to help him escape from the base. Today's humiliation, he would pay back double in the future. He had deeply remembered the faces and names of these researchers. They couldn't run away. Ning Shu felt that there should be zombies in Ping and Shun's space. Maybe Ping and Shun was counting on these zombies to escape. But it was impossible. Regardless of whether they could escape or not, once they couldn't get benefits from Ping and Shun, the space would leave him. The research institute had repeatedly studied it and found that there should be something in Ping and Shun's blood. This substance could protect the body's cells from being invaded by the virus. It was like adding a protective membrane to the body's cells. This was a major discovery. If so, Ping and Shun's blood was very precious and could be used as a vaccine against the virus. For example, if you were bitten by a dog, you could inject a rabies vaccine to make the body produce antibodies. If this serum was produced, then if you were bitten by a zombie or caught by a zombie, you might be fine after being injected. Chapter 2184. Ning Shu felt that this substance should be the credit of the space system. This substance was a bit like spiritual energy, but it was not spiritual energy. It was a special substance. No matter what, Ping and Shun had now changed from an SSS-level dangerous person to an SSSSS-level important target of protection. Ning Shu felt very stifled. Until now, she had not found a way to solve the zombie virus. This virus was said to be sudden and had great transmission. It was the self-purification of this plane that gave birth to this kind of thing. It was not so easy to find a solution, and it was deliberately not found. Because this virus was mutating at any time, it was impossible to figure out. The people in the research institute were under a lot of pressure every day. They scratched their heads until they were bald. It was not feasible to find a solution. Now that there was such a breakthrough, the researchers in the research institute were almost crying with joy. There was finally progress. At the same time, they thought that since Ping and Shun had this kind of constitution, it did not mean that there were people with this kind of constitution. Ning Shu carefully studied the substance in the serum. This substance was in the space. It was the substance in the space that was going to be formed into a plane. Did the evolved space have this kind of substance? Ning Shu felt that this mission might fail. This virus might be made by the plane itself. It made humans and zombies kill each other to purify the entire plane. Because this plane could no longer bear the burden. If it was not purified, the creatures inside would be annihilated with the space. Unfortunately, one of the missions was to find a solution to the zombie virus. If she really solved the zombie virus, the human side would have an absolute chance of winning. Her merit points would probably be deducted. Besides, she did not have the ability to solve it. This was the first time that Ning Shu had encountered such a situation, as the mission and the actual situation contradicted each other. This was a scam mission. Ji Xiang, the person who commissioned this mission, was probably chosen by the main system because of this space that threatened the plane. Xiao Ji, you look so dispirited. Are you unhappy? At the same time, she saw Ning Shu's head knocking on the table. His head was bouncing like a ball. The research institute can finally breathe a sigh of relief. With the serum, we can resist the zombie virus. Ning Shu nodded. I'm happy. I'm very happy. The experiment this time was done quietly and secretly. The people above first found people who had been caught by zombies and injected the serum. They locked them up for observation and found that they didn't turn into zombies. After testing more than 20 people, they didn't turn into zombies. In the end, all the people involved in the experiment were killed. When Ning Shu saw this scene, he felt that the lives of people in the apocalypse were really worthless. It was probably because they were too capable that the plane that gave birth to them had chosen to purify them. The heavenly Tao was heartless, and it instinctively chose the way to maintain this plane. Therefore, these two missions conflicted with each other. As for how to deal with the zombie virus, one could use spiritual energy to envelop the virus and expel it from the body. However, there was no spiritual energy in this world. As for using scientific methods to solve this problem, Ning Shu could only say that he did not have the ability. Ning Shu asked 2333, "Do you want to choose this realm or this quest?" "What nonsense are you talking about? Doing quests is to maintain the stability of the plane. Of course I want to choose the realm. There's no need to think about it at all," 2333 said directly. In this kind of situation where the quests contradict each other, the choice is to choose the realm. You can't let the realm collapse and create trash that affects the neighboring realms. Between realms, it's like dominoes. When one falls, there will be a chain reaction behind. Ning Shu, of course, chose the entire realm. But if I fail the quest, it's very likely that I'll be obliterated. I'll lose one of my talismans. That's too fucking bad. It's a huge loss. No, even if the client is not satisfied, the system will not judge your quest as a failure. The individual, the entire realm, and the other realms next to this one, it's easy to guess which is more important. Moreover, the client can no longer counterattack. If he wants to come back, he can come back. If he doesn't want to come back, he can enter reincarnation. We can give him some preferential treatment. Anyway, we just try to make both parties satisfied, 2333 explained. Even if the main system directly kicks the client to reincarnation, it's not impossible. You'll be exposed if you open your mouth. Ning Shu felt that 2333 should be a person who ignored the rules. It was not easy to use Ping and Shun's serum to control the damage of the zombie virus to the human body. But this was all thanks to Ping and Shun. If Ping and Shun died, the serum would be gone. If he was bitten by a zombie, he would still die and join the zombie army. The human side found a solution. The zombie virus would even change and become easier to infect. It was really fun to fight with the heavens. Moreover, the human body could not lose too much blood. If too much blood was lost, the human body would die. This kind of antivirus serum was destined to be produced in small quantities and could not benefit ordinary people. Most of it was used by the leaders of the base or stored. Ning Shu was a little curious. He wondered if the blood in Ping and Shun's body still had antivirus effects after the realm left him. Ping and Shun had some value now, but when he was no longer useful, he would not be far from death. Ping and Shun was now forced to eat some blood-producing food every day. He ate whatever nourished his blood. Every once in a while, he would draw a bag of blood. Ping and Shun felt like he had become a blood cow, a blood supplier. He kept drawing blood. No matter how much blood his body had, it could not withstand such a demand. Since the discovery of the serum, the people in the research institute had been living a little better. They also received some benefits and more daily necessities. Ning Shu was distressed about his mission. He had been busy for half a day, but this mission might fail. 2333 could get the energy of a realm, but she had nothing. Moreover, they could not look for the origin of the world in this world. The world was full of zombies. Moreover, this plane could not even take care of itself. How could they have the time to create an extra world origin? So Ning Shu did not get anything from this mission. She hoped to get some merit. But, a mission like saving the world was not suitable for her. Ning Shu walked out of the research institute and saw Hua Jingqin waiting for him. He looked travel-worn. He should have returned from outside the base. How is Ping and Shun? I heard that a serum that can resist the virus was found from Ping and Shun. Is that true? Hua Jingqing asked. Ning Shu tilted her head and looked at Hua Jingqing with a half-smile. Who did you hear that from? Aren't you afraid that the base will riot if you say something like that? This kind of thing hasn't been researched at all. Or are you saying that you're also greedy for that so-called serum? Ning Shu looked at Hua Jingqing with a, "What are you greedy for?" expression, which made Hua Jingqing's eyebrows jump. Chapter 2185. Benefits were definitely a test of one's emotions. A person's performance in the face of benefits was most likely a reflection of their true character. If Hua Jingqing was also here for the serum, then their relationship was still weak. Wasn't there a saying that love that couldn't be upgraded to money wasn't love? However, everyone felt that the combination of love and money was vulgar. Only when money was involved could love be considered true love. Money represented a family's status, and worldview, and all of that were revealed. Hua Jingqing looked at Ning Shu. You just need to tell me yes or no. Ning Shu shook his head. This is a secret of the Research Institute. Why should I tell you? Also, I've already taken care of Pingshan for me. I have no obligation or responsibility to tell you these confidential things. Ha! Hua Jingqing sneered. What do you mean you took care of him? You swindled something from me before. Pingshan has such an important position now. He has good food and drinks at the base. Other than losing his freedom, he's more precious than a national treasure. How could anything happen to him? Ning Shu rolled his eyes and kicked him. Hua Jingqing blocked Ning Shu's leg and took 2 steps back. He frowned and looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't hesitate and kicked his shiny leather shoes at Hua Jingqing. Ji Ziang, don't go too far, Hua Jingqing said in a low voice. I can go even further. Ning Shu clenched his fist and punched Hua Jingqing's chest. Hua Jingqing groaned. Hua Jingqing rushed back. His tired body was no match for Ning Shu for the time being. Ning Shu hadn't missed a single day of training. He was very powerful when he swept his legs. Hua Jingqing's body couldn't take it anymore. Hua Jingqing felt that his body was a little weak. If he wasn't a match for Hua Jingqing, he pulled out his gun. Ji Ziang, I just need to know how Pingshan is doing. Hua Jingqing pointed his gun at Ning Shu. Ning Shu also pulled out his gun and pointed it at Hua Jingqing. This is the Research Institute's secret. I'd rather die than tell you. What are you trying to do by snooping around the Institute's secrets every day? Hua Jingqing was so angry that he almost vomited blood after being accused by Ning Shu. What did he mean by asking about the secrets of the Research Institute every day? He was only asking about Ping and Shun's current situation. She made it sound like he was up to no good. Hua Jingqing directly fired a shot at Ning Shu. In Ning Shu's eyes, the bullet was very slow. Ning Shu dodged the bullet and fired a shot at Hua Jingqing's wrist. However, he did not hit him. The bullet only grazed his wrist, and Hua Jingqing dodged it. Gunshots rang out in the base again. The guard hurried over to stop the 2 of them and shouted through a loudspeaker, "Both of you, stop. Stop now. Otherwise, you will be punished. Both of you, throw your guns over. Throw them over." Ning Shu and Hua Jingqing looked at each other through the wall. When the 2 of them threw their guns, they fired at each other at the same time. Ning Shu did not intend to hurt Hua Jingqing. He only wanted to attract the attention of the base. Hua Jingqing and Ning Shu were taken to a small dark room and locked inside. Ning Shu pulled a chair and sat down with a calm expression. Hua Jingqing narrowed his eyes and looked at Ning Shu with a gloomy expression. No one knew what he was thinking. After a while, the metal door opened and the officer came in. He looked at Ning Shu and Hua Jingqing. This is the second time. You opened fire in the base openly. How should the two of you be punished for violating the rules of the base? Ning Shu said calmly, do you think I want to fight with him? He is always trying to find out the secrets of our research institute. This time, he came to ask me if I found a serum that could resist the virus in Ping and Shun's body. These are all secrets of the research institute and the base. Of course, I would not tell him. So, he got angry and started the fight. Nonsense. You were the one who started it. Ji Ziang, you are shameless. Hua Zhengqing pointed at Ning Shu with a gloomy face. Stop spreading rumors. Then why did you come to ask about Ping and Shun? Ping and Shun is a secret of the base. In order to avoid causing panic in the base, this matter was suppressed. Why did you suddenly come to ask me about Ping and Shun? Who knows what you are thinking? I have some connections with Ping and Shun. Plus, Ping and Shun was my subordinate before. What's wrong with me asking? Hua Zhengqing felt that the topic was going in a direction that was disadvantageous to him. Not only did you ask about Ping and Shun, but you also asked me if there was a serum in Ping and Shun's body that could resist the zombie virus. What are you thinking? Do you want to betray the base and take Ping and Shun away? With Ping and Shun, you can build another big base. You are talking nonsense. Hua Zhengqing's blood was boiling in his chest. He almost spat out blood. Ji Ziang, don't talk nonsense. Don't accuse me of something I didn't do. I am just making a reasonable guess. After all, you have a lot of people under your command. If you have Ping and Shun, you can recruit a lot of people with the help of some random serum. Ning Shu spread his hands and said. Sir, this is what happened. This is the reason for our conflict. It started when Hua Zhengqing came to ask about Ping and Shun and the serum. I told him that it was a secret of the base. The two of us had a disagreement and started fighting. Ning Shu said to the officer. The middle-aged officer's expression was unfathomable. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. However, Ning Shu was sure that the base didn't want the serum to spread. Having the serum was like having an extra life, especially after being bitten by zombies. The serum was even more precious than a gold mine. After all, gold couldn't be eaten at the end of the world. I know the details. You can leave now, Dr. Ji. Ning Shu said. Ning Shu bowed and left, leaving the officer and Hua Zhengqing in the dark room. Ning Shu couldn't hear what was being said in the room. He released his psychic power to check the situation in the room. How did you know about the serum? The base didn't tell anyone about it. The officer asked Hua Zhengqing. That meant that the higher-ups in the base had leaked the secret. Hua Zhengqing said directly, I don't know anything about the serum. I just wanted to ask about Ping and Shun. Then Ji Ziang framed me and said something about the serum. The officer's expression was serious. You just need to tell me who told you about the serum. I already told you that Ji Ziang framed me. Fuck, didn't he understand human language? Hua Zhengqing's muscles tensed up. He felt a sense of danger. He was framed by Ji Ziang, but he was the one who took the initiative to find Ji Ziang. Then Ji Ziang took the opportunity to fabricate the story. He was no longer a gentle and harmless lamb. Chapter 2186. The officer repeatedly asked Hua Zhengqing where he heard about the serum. Hua Zhengqing repeatedly denied that Ji Ziang was the one who set him up and that he didn't know about the serum at all. Hua Zhengqing couldn't admit it directly. Yes, he was asking for death by saying something like that. He could only insist that Ji Ziang was the one who set him up. Ning Shu was standing guard not far from the dark room. He saw the situation in the dark room through his psychic power and rolled his eyes when he heard Hua Zhengqing's words. Framing you was just a matter of convenience. You definitely asked about the serum. Weren't you the one who asked? The officer looked at Hua Zhengqing. Did Ji Ziang tell you? Hua Jingqin was silent for a moment. I don't know. I only found out about the serum when I got here. It's obvious that Ji Xiang set me up. The officer asked, why would Ji Xiang set you up? There are so many people out there. Why would he do that? It's confidential. Didn't he know about it? Sigh, it's just a personal thing. I didn't expect Ji Xiang to be jealous. Now the situation has become like this. Then why did you fight again? The officer asked. What were you doing outside the lab? You have to give me a reasonable explanation. Otherwise, even I can't protect you. I can't protect you. It's so serious. Hua Jingqin frowned. His expression became extremely serious. So, Pingshuan's body can really produce the serum to resist the virus? The officer asked, why did you two fight? Ning Shu thought for a moment and returned to the dark room. She was stopped by the guard at the door. Ning Shu took out a pen from her white lab coat and said to the guard, help me bring this in to the officer. Then, everything will be clear. It was a recording pen. There was still electricity in the apocalypse. After all, there was still solar power. Even if there was no electricity, there was still electricity. When she was talking to Hua Jingqin at the entrance of the lab, she put her hand in her pocket and turned on the recording pen. Otherwise, it would be very dangerous to put her hand in her pocket in front of Hua Jingqin. If she wasn't careful, she would be held hostage. The guard opened the door and brought the pen in. The officer turned on the recording pen. The content of Ji Xiang's peaceful conversation could be heard clearly. Then, there was the sound of gunshots. What do you say? The officer looked at Hua Jingqin seriously. The recording might be fake, Hua Jingqin said with a pale face. But in such a short period of time, you have to fake it for me. Even the sound of the soldiers shouting through the loudspeakers was recorded, so it couldn't be faked. I've asked you a few times, but you didn't tell me the truth. What do you want me to say? The officer looked at Hua Jingqin. If the recording falls into the hands of other leaders, you will die. Hua Jingqin gritted his teeth. Ji Xiang was too sneaky. He actually hid the recording pen on his body. What exactly did he want to do? He was so scheming, and the key was that he took the initiative to look for him. Hua Jingqin was drenched in sweat. The sweat flowed from his forehead to his eyelashes and fell on his face. Sir, what do you want to do with me? As far as I know, there are many people who know about this secret. It's useless for you to kill me. Why don't you let me help you find these people and eliminate them one by one? I promise that this secret won't be revealed. If it is, it won't be too late to kill me. In front of the evidence, Hua Jingqin didn't quibble anymore. He simply made a military order. This way, he could buy some time for himself. At least, he could get out of this small dark room. Hua Jingqin's heart was in suspense. All right then. The officer waved his hand. Don't tell anyone about this. Act quietly. Thank you, sir. Hua Jingqin bowed and turned to leave the small dark room. The officer quickly took out his gun and pointed it at Hua Jingqin's back. Hua Jingqin reacted very quickly. He turned around and fired a shot at the officer. Ning Shu was paying attention to the situation in the small dark room at all times. He used his mental strength to distort the trajectory of Hua Jingqin's bullet. The bullet hit the wall beside the officer. Fuck, I'm so lucky. Hua Jingqin was furious. His gun skills were so bad that he couldn't even hit the target at such a close range. The officer saw that he had escaped death and was extremely glad. Fortunately, the bullet didn't hit him. Hua Jingqin, how dare you attack me? The guards outside the room heard the gunshot and rushed in. They pointed their guns at Hua Jingqin. Hua Jingqin's sweat wet the ends of his hair and dripped down. He had a bad feeling in his heart. When he heard the officer's words, he said, "You want to kill me? Am I supposed to let you kill me obediently? Don't use the excuse that you think highly of me. I'm thought highly of because of my ability. I rely on a group of brothers and I to support the entire base. Otherwise, you bunch of trash who don't do anything can go eat shit. Hua Jingqing sneered. Do you believe that when these guards shoot me, you'll be dead too? The officer's face turned pale as he looked at Hua Jingqing. What do you want? Nothing. I just want to leave this place. I've poured my heart and soul into this base in order to find supplies and fight zombies. But now, I'll have to leave this place. Also, bring Ping and Shun from the Research Institute to me. Hua Jingqing said directly. Today, he had offended the officer. There was no way he could stay in this base any longer. Even if he wanted to leave, he had to bring Ping in with him. Ping and Shun's blood was precious. Plus, Ping and Shun was the person he liked. Impossible. The officer refused immediately. Hua Jingqing raised his gun and walked towards the officer. However, no one dared to shoot. If they killed Hua Jingqing, the officer would be killed by Hua Jingqing. Hua Jingqing was a famous sharpshooter in the base. Not only was his gun skills good, but he was also praised for his gun skills. Hua Jingqing wrapped his arms around the officer's neck. Prepare what I want. Otherwise, he will die. With Hua Jingqing's gun pressed against his temple, the officer said, If you, Hua Jingqing, really have the ability, then shoot me. What's in it for me if I kill you? Hua Jingqing dragged the officer out of the dark room. Wow. Moreover, he wanted to take away Ping and Shun, who had Rh-negative blood. Dream on, a mere officer was enough to threaten the base. Ning Shu touched his gun. This was the best way to get rid of Hua Jingqing. If he escaped from the base, it would be difficult to find him. It was hard to guarantee that Hua Jingqing would not rise to power. When that time came, the person who entrusted him would be in trouble. The guards of the base rushed over and pointed their guns at Hua Jingqing. Chapter 2187. Also, Hua Jingqing's subordinates didn't know if they should help Hua Jingqing after seeing him kidnap the commander of the base. If they did, they might lose their lives. However, if they didn't, Hua Jingqing was their leader. If something happened to their leader, how were they supposed to survive in the base? Also, they didn't know what had happened. They went out to find a lot of supplies. 1 second, they were the heroes of the base, but the next second, their leader kidnapped their commander. The world was changing too fast. They couldn't keep up with the pace. Hua Jingqing, are you trying to rebel? Let go of the commander. Captain Li shouted at Hua Jingqing with a megaphone. He was overjoyed. Hua Jingqing was arrogant. He had some skills, but he didn't care about anyone. Now, he kidnapped the commander who was always nice to him. He was looking for trouble. Hua Jingqing looked at Captain Li with disdain. His disdain for Captain Li was evident in his words. Can you get someone more important? You can't even make decisions for me. Even though he was surrounded, Hua Jingqing still looked calm and relaxed. If it wasn't for the fact that he was sweating profusely, one wouldn't be able to tell that he was nervous. Captain Li's mouth twitched. He didn't know why Hua Jingqing was so arrogant when he was about to die. Another senior leader of the base arrived, and Hua Jingqing stated his conditions. We can let you go, but not Ping and Shun. Ping and Shun can release zombies. Why would we let such a dangerous person out? The leader said. Release zombies? The leader's words caused an uproar. What did he mean? Could Ping and Shun really turn zombies into zombies? Not everyone in the base knew about Ping and Shun. They only talked about it in private. However, most people didn't believe it. How could there be such a strange thing in the world? Hua Jingqing sneered. You're not studying Ping and Shun's ability to release zombies. You're studying Ping and Shun's body. Hua Jingqing looked around and found that everyone was listening intently. He then said, Ping and Shun's body has the ability to, Hua Jingqing, watch your words. No matter how much you say, it's just to cause chaos in the base. Everyone has a place to settle down, yet you insist on stirring up trouble. The officer immediately interrupted Hua Jingqing. Hua Jingqing was a little impatient. He aimed his gun at the officer's arm and shot him in the arm. The officer was in so much pain that his face turned ashen. Ning Shu originally wanted to make a move, but he saw that there were snipers everywhere. It was better for these snipers to make a move. With Hua Jingqing's attitude, it would not be easy for him to walk out of the base today. Besides, she would not allow Hua Jingqing to leave. Hua Jingqing's move shocked many people, and they looked at Hua Jingqing warily. One of the leaders of the base was a man with a strong official aura. He wore a military uniform and was also a member of the military. This base hadn't been attacked by the zombies because it had many soldiers and some secret weapons. Hua Jingqing, don't do anything you'll regret, and don't say anything you'll regret, the leader warned Hua Jingqing. If he told the leader about the serum, the base would probably be in chaos. Hua Jingqing said directly, it's fine if you don't want me to tell you. Bring Ping in here and prepare an off-road vehicle. Fill it with gas and prepare some food and water. Prepare it for him, the leader ordered his men to prepare according to Hua Jingqing's request. What about Pingyan? The leader's men asked. Pingyan was much more important than an off-road vehicle. Of course, give it to him, the leader said calmly. Also, withdraw the snipers. Hua Jingqing had goosebumps all over his body. He had a feeling that danger was approaching. He knew that there were snipers waiting to ambush him. They would shoot him in the head when he was not paying attention. Withdraw. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. If the leader was so easy to talk to, he wouldn't be a leader. Ning Shu thought for a moment and knew what the leader was planning. He couldn't help but pout. Playing mind games with people in high positions was simply asking for trouble. Ning Shu couldn't help but look at Hua Jingqing with pity. He could get Pingyan, but he couldn't guarantee what Pingyan would look like. Pingyan was pushed over. He was sitting in a wheelchair. His face was pale and he had lost a lot of weight recently. His cheekbones were protruding. There was no flesh on his face. He looked like a monkey. Hua Jingqing was a little sad. He knew that Pingyan wouldn't have an easy time in the research institute. However, he didn't want to see him like this. Even if Pingyan hid something from him, it was to protect himself. The person you asked for is here, the leader said. Push him over, Hua Jingqing said to Pingyan. Pingyan didn't expect to be able to leave the base one day and see Hua Jingqing again. However, his current situation, was Hua Jingqing going against the entire base for him? Was he betraying the base? Pingyan's sunken eyes were a little hot. Tears flowed through his eyes. It was a little painful. Pingyan was pushed to Hua Jingqing's side. Hua Jingqing asked Pingyan, are you okay? Pingyan smiled bitterly. He was already in this state. His body, thank you, Hua Jingqing. Pingyan raised his head and said to Hua Jingqing. Hua Jingqing looked at Pingyan Shun, his bright eyes filled with gratitude. For a moment, he was a little speechless. Hua Jingqing didn't want things to develop to this point, but Ji Xiang made things develop to a point of no return. Hua Jingqing had indeed saved Pingyan out of selfishness. It was already the worst-case scenario. Why didn't he plan for more benefits on this basis? Pingyan was part of Hua Jingqing's plan. However, Hua Jingqing felt very conflicted when Pingyan looked at him like that. The moment Hua Jingqing was distracted, a sniper opened fire, but Hua Jingqing reacted in an instant and dodged the attack. The halo was huge. You cheated. Hua Jingqing hugged the officer's neck tightly. The officer's face was pale because of excessive blood loss. He was in unbearable pain. Although the snipers on the surface had already retreated, there were still some snipers who were hiding in plain sight. If it wasn't for his years of foresight, he would have been dead by now. More and more guards surrounded them. Hu Jingqing had to break through the encirclement alone like Zhao Zilong. He also had to take Ping'an, who was dying, with him. Chapter 2188. Hu Jingqing's face was getting darker and darker as he hugged the officer tightly. Ping'an Shun, who was sitting in a wheelchair, was twitching and breathing rapidly. Hu Jingqing quickly asked, "What happened to you?" Before I came, my blood was almost drained." Ping'an Shun couldn't stop gasping. The blood in his body couldn't support his body anymore, and his whole body was cold. What the hell? Did he really give him a dying man? You can go. Ping'an Shun tried his best to release 2 zombies. As soon as the 2 zombies appeared, it immediately caused a commotion. Countless bullets were fired at the zombies. The number of bullets was enough to turn the zombies into honeycombs. However, the zombies' skin was stronger than normal zombies. The bullets were embedded in their bodies, but the zombies were unharmed. Ning Shu pulled out his gun and aimed at the zombies' heads. He wrapped the bullets with the power of the sun and shot them, blowing off the zombies' heads. There was another one. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and aimed at the zombies' heads. He shot again and blew off the zombies' heads. However, the zombies without heads were still very strong. They were still able to hurt people. Because there were too many bullets, even Ping'an Shun, who was sitting in a wheelchair, was scanned by the bullets. His body was full of holes. Hu Jingqing took advantage of the chaos caused by the zombies and quickly left. He dragged the officer into the crowd. Looking at the motionless Ping'an Shun, his heart was about to explode. These people were too despicable, too despicable. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and aimed at Hu Jingqing's head. Hu Jingqing seemed to be able to sense the danger. He raised his head and looked in the direction of Ning Shu. Ning Shu stood on the building and smiled at Hu Jingqing's gaze. Goodbye. Hu Jingqing's scalp was about to explode. The bullet quickly arrived in front of him and was about to enter between his eyebrows. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he saw that the bullet seemed to explode. Before Hu Jingqing could react, the bullet pierced between his eyebrows. Everything seemed to have stopped. Hu Jingqing had thought that he would die, but he didn't expect to die in Ji Xiang's hands. In his heart, he thought that although Ji Xiang was now awkward and arrogant, he still had him in his heart. But he didn't expect that he would die in his hands. Kill him. What was he chanting now? Was it scripture? Kill him and then release him from purgatory. How interesting. This must be a hallucination before death. Ning Shu wanted to see Hu Jingqing's soul enter the cycle of reincarnation with his own eyes. As for the space inside Ping'an Shun's body, when Ping'an Shun died, it left Ping'an Shun and took Ping'an Shun's soul. Ping'an Shun didn't even have the chance to reincarnate. He had completely disappeared from this world, and this world no longer had such a person. A pie falling from the sky might not be poisonous, but one had to pay a higher price for it. Perhaps some people didn't care and used their past life to exchange for their current life's fortune and glory. But everything had a price. According to the law of conservation of energy, the loss was proportional to the gain. But sometimes, no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't even get what you wanted. 2333 went to devour the space. When 2333 said that it was done, he asked him, there should be a lot of souls in this space. These souls haven't been purified. Can you absorb them all? Some systems and spaces would devour the host's soul. To squeeze the last bit of value out of the entrusted person, one had to give first before taking. 2333, there aren't many souls, just a few. And I didn't want to absorb them. I just collected them. 2333's voice was very weak. I just fought with the space and wasted a lot of energy. I can't do it anymore. Don't change the topic. Everyone who saw it has a share. Give me some of your soul power, Ning Shu said. I already said that there isn't much. I can't even fill the gaps between my teeth, 2333 said. Ning Shu, it's not little. I can't even get a task-taker's soul in one mission. Just now, you got a whole soul and even the source of the soul. You'll be struck by lightning if you keep it to yourself, 2333. 2333 was silent for a while. Finally, he said, when the time comes, I'll share some with you. Ning Shu did not believe 2333's vague excuse at all. She asked, then how much are you going to give me? I'm the one doing the quests. Besides, I'm also the main contributor. All you need to do is to come out and reap the rewards when the system disconnects. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been able to control that space. You have to understand, 2333 said. Ning Shu, you don't understand the cause and effect. You said that you needed this kind of thing to increase your strength. That's why I came to do this kind of mission. I don't want to do this kind of mission. Now that you've taken advantage of me, why are you still acting like you don't deserve it? I just want a little bit of your soul power and you're already acting like this. But I've already given you a part of my soul stone. We've been doing this for a long time and you want to keep it all to yourself. Is this right? It's more or less my goodwill. Ning Shu and 2333 already had a conflict of interest. It wouldn't be nice for them to fight over a little bit of profit. Her relationship with 2333 was really complicated. They couldn't even achieve a win-win situation like normal business partners. Even if they couldn't, at least it made her feel a little better. The two of them really couldn't go far together. 2333 only saw her as a springboard. He didn't really care about her. Everyone has their own goals. Ning Shu didn't want to force him. He couldn't force him anyway. Although forcing him to do it would quench his thirst, why not choose a better one? Ning Shu felt that he was looking for trouble again. He knew who 2333 was, but he had to say it out loud. It was so awkward. It's okay. Go and digest the energy. Ning Shu didn't want to argue with 2333 anymore. She pretended to be confused and treated it as a favor for saving her life. Even though they were in the same boat, he had saved her life. Although he had spent 500,000 merit points, Ning Shu didn't want to fuss over whether or not he had kept 2,333 of them for himself. So be it. 500,000 was enough to buy a life. Didn't we talk about splitting the soul power? Don't you want it? 2,333 asked. Of course, why not? You can give me as much as you want. No matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. As for how much 2333 gave him, Ning Shu couldn't be bothered. Sometimes, Ning Shu couldn't be bothered with things. He just needed to live his life and work hard to become stronger. What he lost today, he would get back in the future in a different way. Ning Shu comforted himself in his heart. The law of conservation of energy. Oh, 2333 replied before disappearing. Ning Shu holstered the gun on his waist. The farce was finally over. Chapter 2189. The officer was sent to the hospital. He had a gunshot wound that needed treatment. The base was in chaos for a while because of this incident. The two headless zombies were caught and cremated together with Ping and Shun and Hui Jingqing's bodies. Especially when so many people saw Ping and Shun suddenly release the zombies, they were all scared. The leader of the base generously released Ping and Shun because Ping and Shun's body had been dissected and there was nothing special in his body. Because of the severe blood loss, his bones and blood cells could no longer produce blood. Therefore, Ping and Shun had no value since he couldn't produce blood. The serum in the leader's hands was extremely precious and became a limited edition. By doing so, they would be able to quell the rumors that had been spreading in the base during this period of time, saying that Ping and Shun was sent to the research institute because the serum in his body could resist the zombie virus. Now that Ping and Shun released the zombies in front of everyone, it meant that the base locked him up because they could release zombies anytime and anywhere. It was so dangerous that they placed him in the research institute. There was no such thing as a serum. Ning Shu could only say that people who sat high up were all black scientists. Ning Shu returned to the research institute and rested for a while before starting to process the blood left by Ping and Shun. This might be the last batch. It almost drained all the blood in Ping and Shun's body. The people in the research institute gathered together and discussed that each person should keep a bottle, no, half a bottle for self-defense. Even the person in charge of the research institute acquiesced in this matter. The serum that was produced before was handed in. Ning Shu followed the advice and took half a bottle. The bottle was very small, only the size of a penicillin bottle. One bottle could only inject one dose. Half a bottle was not much. Then everyone looked at each other and laughed. That way, everyone would have a share and no one would have to be afraid of betrayal. Although there was the serum, it still couldn't stop humans from quickly turning into zombies. Since the outbreak of the apocalypse, the human population had sharply decreased. Without the birth of new babies, there would only be fewer and fewer humans. Perhaps not long after, this plane would become an empty plane. Everything would be covered up and reborn, returning to its original state. There were gigantic dinosaurs, as well as creatures so large that it made people shudder in fear. There were humans wearing animal skins and holding sharp sticks in their hands chasing prey. Starting over, everything would be new. But the premise was that this plane had to be able to purify itself, complete a great cleansing, and get through this hurdle. It was like a sick person, there was nothing they could do even if they couldn't. Quest complete. Do you wish to leave the quest world? 2333 asked. Leave, Ning Shu said. Ning Shu didn't have any expectations for this task. She hadn't found a way to deal with zombies. The only thing he could look forward to was the soul energy and soul origin purified by her soul stone. Quests and whatnot could not be expected at all. Ning Shu had just laid down on the sofa when 2333 gave him a piece of explosive news. I have a piece of bad news. Do you want to hear it? Ning Shu really wanted to smash 2333's face with a brick. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, the organization killed a bunch of mission enforcers again, 2333 said. Why? Ning Shu was really shocked. They must have done something wrong. In the past, it didn't matter if they killed them or not. Maybe the organization was afraid of chaos, so they just killed some of them to intimidate them. They can even restrain their soul energy. How much soul energy is that? And it's the soul energy of a mission enforcer. 2333's tone was filled with envy. Ning Shu's heart was digging and digging. It was cut off again. It was a little scary. Ning Shu asked, what kind of people were killed? There are low-level, mid-level, high-level, and super-level ones. All of them are considered eliminated. One of the law incarnations was killed as a warning, 2333 said. We'd better tuck our tails between our legs during this period of time. You know how to be afraid? Ning Shu asked in surprise. Why wouldn't I be afraid? Even if I've lived for a long time, I still have 7 emotions and 6 desires. I'm fucking afraid. Didn't they just force you to donate? The donation was a one-time exemption. Why would a law incarnation be killed? Ning Shu suddenly felt his butt tighten. They took the money and went back on their word. I don't know the details, but he must have done something that made the organization want to kill him. The law imprint was taken away. After all, law incarnations are very rare. Go and ask the other law incarnations. I only have a list of names to kill, 2333 said. That's a little scary. What are you afraid of? Did you do something out of line? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. 2333 was silent. Ning Shu was shocked. You didn't really do something, did you? No. If I really did it, the two of us would be annihilated. Why don't you believe me? 2333's tone was filled with resentment. Then why are you silent? Ning Shu patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I didn't get killed. It was not the right time to do missions. The items were expensive and 10% of the soul power would be taken away. Moreover, the more mistakes one made, the more careless one would be killed. Scary. Fortunately, I escaped. This feeling was like going through a tribulation. If one was not careful, lightning would strike down on one's head. Didn't I tell you there was bad news? You're relieved so early. 2333 said faintly. Ning Shu, I'm going to be killed too. No, because the mission enforcers killed a little too many, the other mission enforcers have to complete a certain number of missions within a certain time limit. 2333 said. Pfft. Ning Shu almost knelt down in front of the crazy organization. Since they're short of manpower, why kill them at this time? Perhaps the organization is more lacking in soul power, so they just killed them. Moreover, the missions are completed better by the experienced mission enforcers. Those who broke the rules, did not perform well, or were reckless and went beyond the limit, so they just killed them. 2333 said. Ning Shu's legs trembled. This was a crazy organization. What the hell happened? 2333, I'm so scared. Maybe something happened. I've been locked up all this time. How would I know what's going on outside? Even a pig would know what's going on in this situation. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. She did not want to do missions anymore. She wanted to take a break and go get soul stones. She would not make any mistakes. Life was great. However, the organization had killed so many mission enforcers. She had to do missions. Moreover, it was mandatory. Can I not do missions? Ning Shu wanted to go to the second level of 9 Palace Mountain to find soul stones. Soul stones were Ning Shu's favorite. Sure, but you have to hand in enough missions. 2333 said. I still have to do missions. Ning Shu felt that there was a problem with her communication with 2333, so she did not answer his question. Chapter 2190. 2333 meant that if you don't want to do the mission, then don't do it first. Then, when you want to do it, you can do it until you bleed. That way, you can ensure that the number of missions is met. Ning Shu didn't know what to say about 2333. He understood what she meant when she said that she didn't want to do the mission. She meant to avoid the chaos during this period of time and focus on finding soul stones. When the price of goods went down and the organization stabilized, people wouldn't be so anxious anymore. That way, she could do the mission peacefully. If something really happened to the organization, it was fine to tell them. It wasn't good to let everyone guess. If Ning Shu was only a beginner, he wouldn't care so much and do what he should do. But now, Ning Shu had too many things to consider. Ning Shu sighed and lay on the sofa. He picked up a withered black flower and sniffed it. He was caught off guard by the stench. It was very smelly. Even Ning Shu, who was in spirit form, almost vomited. Wasn't this flower always fragrant? Why did it become so smelly now? And he couldn't feel happy anymore. Ning Shu threw the flower away with a look of disgust. He sniffed his hands. His hands were covered in the stench. Ning Shu looked at the withered flowers on the coffee table. Unfortunately, they weren't like roses, which could stay fresh forever. A bouquet of fresh flowers was about to wither. Ning Shu threw the flowers into the trash can. With a tap of his finger, water appeared in front of him. Ning Shu washed his hands and picked up the red rose. He lay on the sofa and sniffed it while preparing to open the attribute panel. However, before she could click on it, the chat system rang. The sound was a little loud, and coupled with the silence in the room, Ning Shu almost peed in fright. Ning Shu grumbled and opened the chat system. He couldn't bear to look at it. The thing he hated the most now was to hear the chat system's voice. He always felt that something was going to happen. It was another message from the main system. It was a list of people to be killed. It was written on black paper with white handwriting. There were several names of people to be killed and the crimes they had committed. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey again. One of the law incarnations was highlighted, and the reason why it was killed made Ning Shu tremble. The reason was that it wanted to destroy the plane. When Ning Shu heard this, he felt that it was a little inconceivable. Logically speaking, those who could become the embodiment of the law were more experienced mission enforcers, so they would not do such a thing. How could such an idiotic act of wanting to destroy the world appear in the hands of an experienced mission enforcer? Could it be that he had been possessed and his mind wasn't clear? Or did he encounter something in the plane that made him want to destroy the entire plane in a fit of rage? No matter what the reason was, half of the dimension had been destroyed by this law incarnation. If it wasn't for the fact that the organization had managed to locate this law incarnation in the trillions of dimensions, the entire dimension would have been destroyed. This was a domino effect that caused a chain reaction. If he didn't kill this kind of lawless mission enforcer, was he going to keep him for the new year? The bravery of an ordinary man could only cause blood to splatter 10 feet. However, for someone with such great power, if they were careless and couldn't control themselves, then even billions of lives wouldn't be enough to destroy them. If an ordinary person was living peacefully, and then disaster struck out of nowhere, they should have died of old age, but they died without knowing why. Could it be that someone important had died? Some people were in pain, so they wanted the whole world to suffer with them. They wanted to destroy the whole world. Venting anger was a normal human reaction to alleviate the pain in one's heart. It was the world's fault. He heard that they didn't kill her immediately, but took her away. It was probably too easy for her to be killed directly. She must be suffering some kind of torture now. After all, everyone had to pay the price for their actions, no matter what the reason was. The organization has an ultimate torture. Do you want to know? I think she must have been sent there to be tortured. 2333 said mysteriously to Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, I don't want to know. He knew that it would leave a psychological shadow. 2333 said, that is to hang the mission enforcer up and let the souls of the dead in this world gnaw on her soul. The pain of the soul being gnawed on is heart-wrenching, and the pain must be magnified 10,000 times. It is 10,000 times more painful than giving birth to a child. Because these souls have grievances, it will affect the world. There are too many of them, and if they are placed in the world of reincarnation, it will be a burden to the world of reincarnation. Since that is the case, a special space will be opened, and the mission enforcer will be locked in with these souls, and let these souls gnaw on her flesh and blood. Ning Shu's chrysanthemum tightened. The torture will only end when the mission enforcer's soul is completely gnawed. However, these are all ordinary souls. Even if they gnaw on them, they can only gnaw on a little bit. To gnaw on the entire soul, especially the soul of a veteran mission enforcer, it will take an immeasurable amount of time. And the mission enforcer's merit and faith will enter the body of the soul gnawing on her soul. This is also a kind of compensation. How much you can get depends on your own luck. When the mission enforcer is completely gnawed, these souls will be forced into the pool of rebirth by His Excellency. Because the resentment will dissipate a little, and with some compensation, even if the mission enforcer is reincarnated, there will not be any rebellious thoughts, and it will have a huge impact on the world. This kind of mission enforcer is the most hated and detested by His Excellency. Not only His Excellency, but the entire organization will also carry out inhumane torture on these mission enforcers. Not only will it destroy the life dimension, but it will also cause great harm to the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu, damn, I'm so scared. Sure enough, there was a psychological shadow. Suddenly, he felt that being wiped out was not so hard to accept. After all, even if he died, it would be a matter of a moment, and it would not be painful for long. Countless souls gnawed at one's soul. The tougher the soul of the mission enforcer was, the longer the pain would last. Damn it. I told you these things because we are tied together. No one can escape. Then what about the mission enforcer's system? Ning Shu asked. Of course, it will be tortured together with its mission enforcer. If its mission enforcer did such a thing, the system will not be able to absolve itself from the blame. Also, if the report is too late, when the organization goes, the world will be filled with wandering souls that cannot enter reincarnation. It will be like hell on earth. Ning Shu hammered his chest. How scary. How much karma would be involved in destroying the world like this? The key was that it would be a painful death. How do you know? Ning Shu asked. He did not expect 2333 to take the initiative to tell him this. At the time, the main system was in charge of informing every mission enforcer. 2333 said. The organization gave Ning Shu the feeling that he had more important things to do now. If you jump up and down, you will die a terrible death. It was probably to avoid chaos in the organization. Ning Shu felt that ordinary mission enforcers would not be able to affect the organization at all. After all, an individual could not leave the organization. However, if they caused trouble in the world and destroyed the world, it would be different. Chapter 2191. Ning Shu replied to the main system with 2 words, got it. Then the main system sent another message, listing in detail the missions that mission takers of all levels needed to complete. At the end, it even acted cute, cheering everyone on. Ning Shu was speechless. Not cute at all. As a super mission taker, Ning Shu had a lot of missions. All mission takers were like this. Ning Shu sighed. At this time, he could only try his best. He was tied to the organization, but he had to suffer a little. He didn't know what these missions were. The organization would rather go without than have substandard missions. In this situation, they actually killed a large number of mission takers. The mission takers' resources obviously couldn't maintain the situation of hundreds of millions of planes. Ning Shu had a rough idea. The organization faced all the planes born from the Sea of Law, and they had to ensure that these planes were normal. There were internal reasons for the planes to be damaged, so there were mission takers. There could also be external damage. Maybe the planes were damaged from external sources. The organization was trying their best to save the plane's external injuries. He suddenly had a trace of respect for this crazy organization. When he felt that he was incomparably miserable, there were still unknown people protecting him. When he felt that the sky was falling, there were actually people holding it up. It was just that it was a little crazy to kill for no reason. The founder of the organization was probably crazy. It caused him to be completely unable to figure out the organization's methods. He had no idea what the other party wanted to do. No matter what, Ning Shu now felt that he was on the same boat as the organization. As an ant that lived on the big tree that was the organization, Ning Shu really didn't want anything to happen to the organization. He had to do missions again, and he had to do all kinds of missions. The workload suddenly increased. To be honest, now was not the best time to work. Ning Shu put his hands together. Everything was fine. There was still a bright future waiting for him. Ning Shu looked at his attribute panel. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27. Level, Super Mission Taker. Points card, 223. Soul value, 16 health value, 14 wisdom, 16 luck, 18 charm, 11 spiritual power, 14 force, 17 aptitude, 17 faith, 27069880 merit, 845211 soul strength, 71 authorization ticket, none pure heart, none law comprehended. Water elemental law incarnation, construct a world, it might be the world of samsara. Items, calming halo, calming pill, faith halo, amulet 4, upgraded amulet +2. Honorary titles, goddess of war, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner level cooking skill, intermediate level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis. Halo, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen-Shi's blessing, leader halo, grass blessing, best friend of a lifetime, Miao Miao Miao's blessing, healer of the dying, Zhu Su Nyang's blessing, founding woman, Chen Ermiai's blessing, lawful lady, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, Bai Sanyang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing, bloodthirsty tyrant, Ni Bingyan's blessing. Completed Ji Xiang's wish, research a way to eliminate zombies. Mission completion rate, 60%. Mission reward, 5-point cards, 5 attribute points, 50% of soul power, 7,500 faith power, including previous world's accumulation, 70,000 merit points, and an additional 40% of soul power. Ning Shu originally did not have much expectations for this world, and the mission completion rate was only 60%. However, he actually received 70,000 merit points, which made up for the sadness in his heart. This 70,000 merit points was probably because he solved the problem of the space. However, the soul power was a little low, only 50%. That meant that the system took away 40%, leaving 2333 with a fixed 10%. Fortunately, the soul power from the purified soul stone was enough to make up for the loss. From now on, Ning Shu felt that he had a lot to learn. He had to learn how to solve the system's problems. Relying on 2333 was not a long-term thing. In the future, when he encountered a system mission, if 2333 did not help, he could only watch the system choose a new host and start another round of fighting. He would be as tired as a dead dog. Many skills, many paths, I want to develop in the direction of omnipotence, ha 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 ha, Ning Shu's heart let out a barbell-like smile. Ning Shu sat cross-legged, absorbing the soul power this time. Because he had collected a lot of soul stones with golden soul origin, this time the soul origin was unprecedented. Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked at his own soul. It seemed to have changed. He could not tell what was different, but he felt that it was more real. It was a lot stronger. It was great. Even the texture of the clothes he was wearing was different. Ning Shu put his hands on his waist and turned a circle. The feeling of the skirt falling was incomparably good. As he walked, it swayed, very elegant. It looked good. Ning Shu showed off for a moment and added the attribute points. Name, Ning Shu. Age, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Points card, 223 plus 5, 10 million points for 1 point card, soul value, 16 health points, 14 wisdom, 16 luck, 18 charm, 11 spiritual power, 14 plus 5 martial strength, 17 aptitude, 17 faith, 270-6980 plus 7500 merit points, 845211 plus 70,000 soul strength, 71 plus 10 authorization ticket, none pure heart, none comprehended law, water law incarnation, constructed world, suspected to be the world of reincarnation items, calm aura, heart-setting pill, faith aura. Amulet 4, upgraded amulet +2 honorary titles, war god empress, selfless ancestor skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate fighting technique, intermediate level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner-level code programming, beginner-level lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner-level cooking skill, intermediate-level embroidery skill, trash hypnosis aura. Mother of the world, Queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen Shi's blessing, leader. Aura, grass blessing, lifelong friend, Miao Miao Miao's blessing, life-saving hand, Zhu Sun Yang's blessing, founding woman, Chen Ermiai's blessing, lawful lady, Chen Ning's blessing, bane of the blood clan, Jasmine's blessing, transcending race communication, Bai San Yang's blessing, brave heart, Wang Ying's blessing, bloodthirsty tyrant, Ni Bingyan's blessing. Ning Shu directly added all his attribute points to spiritual power. He was too lazy to add them bit by bit. Moreover, the attribute points this time were very few, only 5. This time, the mission barely passed. However, it was very dangerous. If he accumulated a certain amount of points, he might face the possibility of being obliterated. Ning Shu took the bottle of spirit liquid to the 9 Palace Mountain to exchange for more spirit stones. When he had accumulated enough spirit stones, he would go and complete the mission given by the main system. Ning Shu suddenly thought of something. He did not know if Ji Xiang had returned to the incomparably difficult post-apocalyptic era. Chapter 2192. The apocalypse would definitely destroy the world. There was no way one person could turn the tide. This was for the sake of the entire world. Him. I tricked him into reincarnating. I told him that there are many worlds in this world, and there are all kinds of worlds. There is a world where you can live forever through cultivation, an ancient world where you can have 3 wives and 4 beautiful women in your arms, and a world with advanced technology. 2333 said. Ning Shu asked, then where did he go? After jumping into the pool of rebirth, everything from the past was erased. Everything had to start from scratch. I told him that he had some merit on him, and he would definitely join a good person's family in the future. No matter what world it was all about the father. He wouldn't be bad. In the modern world, he might be a domineering CEO. Ning Shu was speechless. Then where did he choose to go? Ning Shu asked. After talking for so long, he didn't get to the point. He went to the ancient world. He said he wanted to build a career, but who knows which world he would join. Ning Shu could imagine 2333 shrugging his shoulders and curling his lips when he said this. He only cared about tricking people away. If she had to choose, she would definitely choose a world where she could live forever. Although it was cruel, she could obtain power. But everyone's choice was different. According to Ji Xiang's personality, building a career. But maybe Ji Xiang would become a decisive general in the ancient world. The soul that jumped into the pool of rebirth was very blank. It depended on what color was painted on the soul. This was good too. Everyone was relatively satisfied. If it wasn't for me, this Ji Xiang would have failed, 2333 said. Ning Shu just said, you said that in a situation where the world and the mission are in conflict, even if the person who asked me to fail the mission, the main system would still say that I passed the mission. So, 2333 was asking for credit. Haha, did you forget what you said just now? 2333, tisk, not cute at all. 2333 took out a jade bottle and started to use his spiritual power to fill it. Ning Shu hummed a little tune as he packed the bottles. When he saw these bottles, Ning Shu's mind automatically replaced them with soul stones. There were so many soul stones. Ding dong, Ning Shu wanted to roll her eyes. Recently, her chat system had been ringing frequently. It hadn't been ringing for a long time. Ning Shu placed the bottle in his meson space and opened the chat system. It was a reply from Mei Ziqing. She sent a very tired emoji and asked to meet up for a drink. Ning Shu looked at Mei Ziqing's half-dead appearance and asked, "You've fallen out of love?" "No, I didn't fall out of love. Ning Shu pondered for a moment and went to Water City as well. He also went to see Tian's auction house to ask if there were any light and darkness attribute world sources. Ning Shu didn't have much hope for the 2 stones on Xiaohua's body. He didn't know what kind of deformed objects they were, but they weren't. Most likely, they wouldn't be able to hatch. Moreover, she was no longer a fugitive, so she could go to every law city to see if there was anything she needed. Although prices were going crazy now, as long as it was something that was needed, it didn't matter if it was expensive. Building a world was an urgent matter. Earning money was to buy these things. Ning Shu appeared in Water City. Walking on the limestone floor, she felt like she was walking on water. With a tap of her toes, ripples appeared. It was a little fun. She checked the barrier of Water City. Outside the barrier was the violent power of law. Although it didn't have much effect on her, it was a disaster for ordinary mission enforcers. Ning Shu arrived at Mei Ziqing's restaurant. Mei Ziqing had already ordered a table full of dishes and drinks. She was slowly tasting them alone. Ning Shu sat down and asked, "Where's Xiaohua?" "He ran away," Mei Ziqing said calmly. "Ran away?" Ning Shu was surprised. "Did I think he ran away? Could it be that Xiaohua couldn't take it anymore and ran away from Mei Ziqing? Or maybe he didn't like the oppressive life of a mission enforcer. Could it be that Xiaohua was in puberty, and Mei Ziqing kept him locked up, so he ran away to resist? Perhaps Xiaohua was in his 2nd stage of puberty. With the thought of, "I'd rather die without freedom," he ran away. Facing the morning sun, she went to pursue her freedom, leaving behind a lonely Mei Ziqing to cry silently. Chapter 2192, Purely Seeking Death. "Hey, what are you thinking?" Mei Ziqing said unhappily. "Xiaohua said he wanted to go out and play." "I see." She was still not used to the dull life in the system space. When Mei Ziqing went to do missions, Xiaohua was alone. Even if there was a system in the system space, the system existed to help mission enforcers. It didn't exist to help mission enforcers' sons, lovers, child husbands, or siblings chat to relieve their boredom. It was a living and intelligent existence. It wasn't like feeding a pet, giving it food and drink, or even needing companionship. It didn't exist because you needed companionship when you were lonely, but because you needed companionship when you were lonely. It wasn't a puppet. Mei Ziqing was a mission enforcer. Completing missions was something she had to do. She didn't have much time to accompany Xiaohua. No one could ask the other to do anything. They just stayed there quietly. When I needed you, you would appear. When I didn't need you, you wouldn't appear. Where did he go? Ning Shu asked. He ran away with Pan Chen, Mei Ziqing said as she took a sip of wine. Ning Shu. You mean the stone spirit Pan Chen who kills without karma? Ning Shu asked. Pan Chen was dealt with by the Grand Elder last time. Why did he run out now? Why was Xiaohua with him? He must have snuck out while the Grand Elder and the silver-haired man were asking for donations. Once he ran out, he came to kidnap Xiaohua. Damn, Xiaohua was no match for him. Even his mental strength was no match for him. Then why are you drinking so calmly? You're not in a hurry. Ning Shu also took a sip. It was a little numb, but also a little sweet. It had a rich fragrance. It tasted better than the wine he drank in the plane. Xiaohua asked me, and I agreed to let him go out. Let him learn something from Pan Chen. I realize that I can't give him anything if he stays by my side. He doesn't even have freedom. It's better to let him go out and explore. He'll learn from his mistakes, Mei Ziqing said slowly. Ning Shu was speechless. It's good that you've thought it through. But Pan Chen is always thinking about Xiaohua. If he's not thinking about his strength, he's thinking about his butt. Pft. Cough, cough. Mei Ziqing spat out the wine in her mouth, almost spitting it onto the food on the table. Ning Shu quickly covered it with his hand. Cough, cough. Mei Ziqing took a sip and calmed herself down. You're thinking too much. What do you mean by thinking about his butt? Chapter 2193. Ning Shu had just returned from the apocalypse and immediately thought of this. It was completely a conditioned reflex. You're wrong. If he's not trying to swallow Xiaohua's power, then it must be love. Otherwise, why would he always look for Xiaohua? Pfft. Mei Ziqing spat out the tea in his mouth. Please shut up. Ning Shu, all right, Mei Ziqing gritted his teeth. If Pan Chen dares to do anything to Xiaohua, I won't let him off. Maybe you're overthinking. He's just trying to swallow Xiaohua's power. It's not love. Ning Shu comforted him. I'm begging you to shut up. Both of these things would kill her. She would lose her life and lose her chastity. Ah, my Xiaohua. Mei Ziqing regretted letting Xiaohua go with Pan Chen. Then why did you let him go? Ning Shu asked. After all, Pan Chen was a lawless rock spirit. He wouldn't be punished by the heavens no matter what he did. The only person who could barely hold him down was the judge. Xiaohua told me that he wanted to go out with a senior. This senior was Pan Chen, but Pan Chen said that he wouldn't do anything to Xiaohua. We're all rocks, born from the same roots. There's no need to be so anxious. He didn't look like he was lying. I went to do my mission. Xiaohua was very lonely in the system space, or in Water City, he was very lonely without any companions. So I let Xiaohua go out with him. Even if Pan Chen really does harm to Xiaohua, Xiaohua has experienced it before. He should be more careful. Pan Chen's attitude is very good, shut up. I know what you want to say. You're treating me like your mother-in-law, right? Mei Ziqing said. Pfft. Ning Shu covered his mouth and laughed. If it's really love, then Xiaohua will have a companion to play with. They could play a game of pa. What love? Pan Chen has bad intentions. I have to find Xiaohua. The more Mei Ziqing thought about it, the more he regretted it. Of course, he felt that Xiaohua was pitiful and lonely. It would be great to go out and see the world. However, after hearing Ning Shu's nonsense, Mei Ziqing became even more worried. We have to let Xiaohua experience the good and the evil. It's good to let him know the human heart. Don't worry. Although Xiaohua is young, he knows how to protect himself. This is his instinct. Ning Shu clinked his wine glass with Mei Ziqing's. He couldn't keep him locked up forever. Mei Ziqing thought about it and said, should we contact Pan Chen's master? I don't think so. Do you have a way to contact him? Besides, looking for him for this kind of thing is simply courting death. Ning Shu quickly shook his head. I was forced to donate it. Besides, the organization is busy right now. Otherwise, why would Pan Chen run out? Even if we called him, he wouldn't have paid any attention to us. Ning Shu was most afraid of losing his money. Whenever he saw someone, he would leak out his money. He would hide far away like the plague. In the past, when he was a fugitive, he would run whenever he saw someone. Now that he was no longer a fugitive, he would still run whenever he saw someone. You say how much of a failure a judge is. Mei Ziqing was just saying. He didn't expect anything at all. He just sighed. Sometimes, I envy those who are alone. They have companionship and their troubles. Loneliness has its benefits. Mei Ziqing sighed. You say that I never learned to be obedient or that I'm soft-hearted, Mei Ziqing said. Back then, when I saved Xiaohua, I couldn't fulfill my responsibility. Ning Shu thought of Mei Ziqing's ex-boyfriend who had died. He had sacrificed a plane to create his own world. In the end, he had been obliterated. Don't be afraid. There will be more setbacks in the future. Hang in there. There's nothing you can't get through. There will be more setbacks ahead. Ning Shu comforted Mei Ziqing. Everyone has had so many setbacks. Do you feel better? Mei Ziqing looked at Ning Shu from the corner of his eyes. Not at all. Forget it. Let's drink. Xiao Hua is an individual. I can't tie him to my belt for the rest of his life. He has to experience it himself, Mei Ziqing said. Sir, this is a complimentary dish from our restaurant. The waiter brought a plate of exquisite dishes to them. Ning Shu raised his head and looked upstairs. Xu Bai was leaning against the railing. She was still wearing an intellectual qipao and holding an embroidered fan. She smiled at Ning Shu. Ning Shu returned a smile. Ning Shu wanted to control his own fate one day. He also wanted to open a small restaurant and do some business occasionally. It was quite interesting. However, he had to control his own fate first. He didn't expect the restaurant to make money. He could use his skills to sell something. Living the life of a retired old lady was also quite interesting. She was carefree and relaxed. Oh, I like it. When he was strong, no one would dare to find trouble with him. The more he thought about it, the more tempted he was. However, Ning Shu suppressed this impulse. He had too many things to do now. It was better to wait for such things. He wanted to stand at the top of the Forbidden City. This meal was Mei Ziqing's treat. As a woman, she was in a bad mood. She bought. Swiping her identity card was satisfying and heart-wrenching. In short, it was very satisfying. Ning Shu arrived at Si Tian's auction house. Ning Shu and Mei Ziqing wanted to join in the fun. They really didn't want to buy anything. Really. Si Tian arranged a private room for Ning Shu. Ning Shu and Mei Ziqing sat in the private room. Tea, pastries, and fruits were served. It was much more comfortable than in the main hall. It was much more comfortable to watch the fun. However, it seemed a little apologetic to not buy anything and occupy a private room. Si Tian was a very calculating person. She definitely wouldn't participate in the auction this time. Ning Shu asked Si Tian, "Is there a world source?" Si Tian replied, "No. No matter what attribute you want, we don't have it. However, there are many treasures this time. You can take a look." "Okay. I'm really just looking around." The auction started. It was a beautiful female auctioneer. Women had advantages. Beautiful women had even more advantages. Men didn't want to be looked down upon in front of women. Sometimes, they would spend a lot of money to boost their spending. Being pretentious was a human need. Even mission enforcers were the same. Ning Shu nibbled on a sweet melon as he looked at the auction items. Ning Shu didn't bid once because he didn't have much money. Secondly, Ning Shu didn't need these items. However, there was a space up for auction this time. It was a space that could form a plane. As long as the source of the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, and darkness worlds were gathered, it was possible to form a life world that belonged to oneself. Mission enforcers who entered the space of laws were all super mission enforcers. At this stage, everyone was thinking about how to take the next step and break through to a higher level. That was to form their own life world. Therefore, when this space appeared, it attracted many heated gazes. They stared at the space. This space was a pearl. Chapter 2194. As soon as the world carrier appeared, all the super mission enforcers' emotions fluctuated. Ning Shu didn't feel much about this bead because he already had a world carrier. He hadn't gotten his hands on another one, so he shouldn't bite off more than he could chew. If he missed out on this bead, Ning Shu wouldn't feel anything. However, he had missed out on the world tree previously. That was a world tree with a single leaf and a world. Therefore, Ning Shu's emotions didn't fluctuate at all. Even if he bought this bead, he would put it on the shelf and collect dust. He hadn't even succeeded in one world yet, so he didn't know when he would succeed in this one. Ning Shu saw from the corner of his eye that Mei Ziqing was staring at the bead on the tray on the auction stage. This bead emitted a colorful glow and was very beautiful. However, Mei Ziqing's expression turned gloomy. This kind of world carrier was too expensive. She couldn't afford it. Mei Ziqing was discouraged and her shoulders drooped. Mission enforcers dreamed of having their own living world. With a living world, they would be able to jump out of the shackles of ordinary mission enforcers and have a wider world. They wouldn't have to worry about being obliterated. Even if they did something wrong, they would be punished, but their lives wouldn't be in danger. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He watched the auction progress. The price was 450,000 merit points, and each increment was at least 10,000 merit points. A world carrier like this cost so much merit points. She only got 70,000 merit points for saving a world. Businessmen were simply robbers. The image of Si Tianshan in his wide-sleeved robes appeared in Ning Shu's mind. He looked elegant, but these people's minds were filled with schemes. Mei Ziqing heard the price and felt hopeless. 45 merit points, and she had to compete with so many people. Her chances of getting it were close to zero. Moreover, she didn't have 45 merit points. Generally speaking, mission enforcers who weren't city lords and didn't do business didn't have much merit points. Unless you saved one world after another and accumulated a terrifying amount of wealth. However, such people were rare. However, mission enforcers also had a lot of ways to make money. If they encountered any treasure in the mission world, they could sell it and make money, merit, or faith power. Some people made several tentative bids, and the price rose to 500,000 merit points. Mei Ziqing wanted to say something but stopped. Ning Shu kept his mouth shut and waited for Mei Ziqing to speak. The price was too high. Mei Ziqing saw that the world carrier was about to fall into the hands of others. He took a deep breath and said to Ning Shu, "Ning Shu." Ning Shu turned his head to look at Mei Ziqing. Mei Ziqing didn't have the courage to speak. He shook his head and said, "Nothing." Mei Ziqing knew that Ning Shu might have money on him. As the city lord of Water City, she was supported by a huge amount of taxes, but that was still her money. The relationship between the two of them was just that they could talk. Sometimes, they would get together to chat. However, when it came to money, they weren't that close. The bidding continued. Mei Ziqing encouraged him again and again. He said to Ning Shu, "You know what I want to say. I want this world carrier. I have been a super mission enforcer for a long time. I want to give it a try. This is not a small sum. We can form a contract. I can return all of this to you, no matter how long it takes. If something happens to me along the way and I die, my soul energy and soul origin will be yours," Mei Ziqing said to Ning Shu seriously. "Contract?" Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Mei Ziqing said, "There is a contract in the shop. It's similar to an IOU. It has the ability to collect debts. If I die, my soul power and soul origin will be yours." Ning Shu didn't know about such a tool. He usually didn't pay attention to such things. If something happened to the borrower, his soul would be hers. This was the legendary saying that even the dead wouldn't be spared. Hundreds of thousands of merit points. Ning Shu felt that he should consider it. The contract was very overbearing. If you wanted to escape with your life, your soul power and soul origin would be the creditors. Aren't all the souls collected by the main system? How can they be in the hands of the borrower? Ning Shu asked. Then, is the soul power and soul origin of the borrower pure? If it wasn't pure, the main system would have to purify it. Then, the main system would have to give a portion of it away. Damn, Ning Shu more or less understood the tricks of these dogs. They were all fucking evil. I didn't pay attention to that. Let me check the description of the contract, Mei Ziqing said. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu also opened up the system exchange store and flipped to the contract book. The contract book was created by the system to prevent conflicts between quest takers. It also had the ability to ask for payment. When the time came, it would automatically ask for payment. There was no need for the creditor to hesitate and ask for payment. Ning Shu was more concerned about whether the soul of the borrower would be pure if something happened to her and she was killed. After flipping through the description for a long time, the last page said that the cost of purification would be 20% of the profit. Ning Shu was speechless. Familiar formula, familiar tricks. Mei Ziqing and Ning Shu looked at each other. Ning Shu. Mei Ziqing looked at Ning Shu. With this contract, I will have to repay my debt for the rest of my life. Even if I die, it will be yours. With such a strong contract, there was basically nothing to worry about. Furthermore, mission enforcers who had reached this stage wouldn't easily die, let alone die for a little debt. Mission enforcers had plenty of time. The debt might seem huge now, but it would take a long time. Ning Shu was now calculating how much money she had on hand. She had forced him to donate nearly 700,000 yuan. She had also bought cultivation manuals and spirit stones. He now had more than 18 million faith power and 540,000 merit points in his account. If he lent Mei Ziqing more than 500,000 merit points, he would lose all his merit points. How much do you need? Ning Shu asked Mei Ziqing. Mei Ziqing said, I have 150,000 merit points. Mei Ziqing was good at making money. It was good enough for a normal mission enforcer to have so much merit points. Then I'll lend you 400,000. Ning Shu said. He took out his identity card and transferred 400,000 to Mei Ziqing. He only had 100,000 merit points left. He would have to wait for the next tax, which would take a long time. Ning Shu, thank you, thank you. Mei Ziqing hugged Ning Shu. Ning Shu pushed her away. Remember to pay the money on time. Chapter 2196. Damn, this city is so dangerous. Ning Shu was almost cut by the space blade again. Even if my soul is water, if the water is stored in two different sealed bottles, how can it be gathered together? Although this city is dangerous, the flow of people here is bursting. The more dangerous it is, the more people are attracted. If I can master such a powerful law, I will be invincible. This was only the city, and the power of the laws was just a little bit. If it was outside the city, it wouldn't be much of a scene. In an instant, the power of space would have shredded everything into nothingness. This is awesome. I heard that some people use the law of space to create a living world and create their own space. However, a living world must have a carrier. Only with a carrier can it last for a long time. Ning Shu was exhausted from walking in the city of space. She lost her way and couldn't find where she should go. If one day she understands a little bit of the law of space, she will be able to move freely in the city of space. After all, there is a small test before entering a city. It tests if you can pass a little bit of the law of the city. Ning Shu said to 2333, take me back to the system space. How long will I have to walk around here? It's fine if I can't find the world origin, but I still have to go to 9 Palace Mountain to exchange for some soul stones. I have to enter the second floor of 9 Palace Mountain. Ning Shu felt like she didn't have enough time. Her schedule was really packed. She even said she wanted to learn how to fight the system. Ning Shu scratched her head. Why am I getting busier? Fine, I'll do it one by one. Ning Shu returned to the system space and took the meson space from the table. With a tap of her finger, she walked into the black hole. Ning Shu stood in front of Nine Palace Mountain and looked at the vast black land. She didn't know how the world of reincarnation has evolved. A world without the pool of reincarnation is not the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu placed her hand on the stone wall of the Nine Palace Mountain and was instantly pulled into the Nine Palace Mountain. Looking around, it was a familiar place. Why didn't Nine Palace Mountain send her to the second floor? It kept wandering around the first floor. Could it be that she can only enter the second floor after passing it? He had nothing to say about Nine Palace Mountain. He felt that it was a mountain with principles. Could it be that her strength was only enough to enter the first level, so she could only wander around the second level? If she passed the second level, perhaps she would be pulled to the second level. With Nine Palace Mountain's intelligence, how could it differentiate strength? Ning Shu felt that with his power of laws, he could be considered quite powerful on the first level, so he wanted to try the second level. They had to pass through the wind blades and enter the second layer. Ning Shu first went to the Soul Stone mine to look at his fish tank. It had been there for so long, and he wondered how much damage it had absorbed from the Soul Stone mine. Ning Shu flew above the Soul Stone mine. There were still wind blades flying everywhere. The fish tank was safe and sound inside the enchantment. If there were any wind blades that came into contact with the fish tank's law of nothingness, they would be swallowed. Sometimes, Ning Shu really envied the law of nothingness's ability to fuse with any attack. Was it fusing with his own power or devouring it? Either way, it was quite awesome. Ning Shu decided to give it a try. His entire soul turned into a drop of water and dripped into the fish tank, causing ripples. But in the next second, a drop of water rushed out of the fish tank. Ning Shu felt as though she had seen a ghost. As soon as she entered the tank, her soul began to melt. This melting feeling made her feel as though her body was disappearing bit by bit. He struggled with all his might, but his struggles were very weak. It was like a broken boat in a tsunami. It was very weak. Fortunately, he had the power of laws. The water pushed him out of the fish tank. Ning Shu looked at his own soul. It seemed to have dimmed a lot. He didn't have the ability, yet he was still dreaming. Ning Shu smiled bitterly. He wasn't strong enough yet, so he was still daydreaming. He was biting off more than he could chew. Ning Shu slapped himself in the face. His mind was muddled. If he couldn't get out, there would be no Ning Shu in the world. I'll wait. I'll come back when I'm more powerful. One day, I'll be able to deal with him. Not only did she covet the law of nothingness's power, but she also didn't want to waste the hundreds of thousands of merit points. Speaking of which, how long had it been? She had already used up most of the merit points from the tax. If she encountered something precious, she definitely wouldn't have enough merit points. However, he still had more than 2 million faith power. Otherwise, Ning Shu would be very worried about having no food at home. He lost some of his soul power again and melted it into the law of nothingness. He couldn't afford to offend this ancestor for the time being. Ning Shu adjusted his mentality and decided to challenge the second level of Nine Palace Mountain. The entrance to the second level was guarded by a few big families in the city who took turns collecting taxes. If he wanted to enter, he had to pay the taxes first. Ning Shu handed over 2 bottles of spirit liquid and entered the pitch-black tunnel. Fortunately, he had mental power. It didn't matter if his eyes couldn't see. In an instant, countless wind blades flew towards Ning Shu. Especially in the narrow passageway, there was nowhere for him to hide. When Ning Shu saw these wind blades, his face turned green. Damn, these weren't wind blades at all. They were spatial blades that were 10,000 times more dangerous than wind blades. If they were wind blades, Ning Shu felt that he could pass through. However, if they were spatial blades, Ning Shu wasn't confident. He also didn't know how long this tunnel was. The attacks from behind would definitely be more intense. Ning Shu cried out and turned around to run out of the tunnel. The guards guarding the tunnel couldn't help but laugh. They had seen many people who wanted to go up, but under the threat of the wind blades, they all ran back with their tails between their legs. Ning Shu gave the middle finger to the entrance in his heart. Wait for me to learn the law of space. I'll come again. Just you wait. Ning Shu arrived at the mansion of the previous young master and knocked on the door. The one who opened the door was a servant. When he saw Ning Shu, he immediately closed the door. Ning Shu didn't care and continued to knock on the door. After knocking for a while, the servant opened the door and opened a gap. From the gap, the servant said to Ning Shu, "My young master is not at home." "Is he really not at home?" Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked. "There is no place to hide from my divine sense. I am looking for your young master." The servant said with some grief and indignation, "My young master is really not at home. He went back to the main house. He really is not at home. It doesn't matter if he is not at home. I just want to ask you, which family in the city has a lot of soul stones and is short of spirit stones?" The servant said with a bitter face, "Great aunt, how many soul stones does a family have? I am just a servant. How can I know how much wealth a big family has? If you want to talk about soul stones, then it must be Lu family. They are all souls and need soul stones to cultivate." The servant said. Lu family had already exchanged 2 secret books last time. If they wanted to exchange again, they wouldn't be able to exchange for any high-quality soul stones. Chapter 2197. Even if she went to the Lu family, she would definitely be chased out of the house. Over and over again, the Lu family would probably be pissed off. Except for the Lu family. Ning Shu sat on the steps and patted the stone steps beside him. "Let's have a good chat." The servant was speechless. "Who's close to you?" But under the threat of strength, the servant sat down and said, "I really don't know which family has more soul stones." "Then you should know which family has soul stone mines." Ning Shu's appetite was a little picky now. He wanted golden soul stones of higher quality. When there was nothing left on the first level, he would go to the second level. When there was nothing left on the second level, he would go to the third level. There were 9 levels. Ning Shu could see an endless stream of soul stones flying towards him. The Li family, the Lu family, and our master's family all have soul stone mines. Among them, the Lu family has the most soul stone mines. They use their spirit veins to exchange for soul stone mines from other families, the servant said honestly. Ning Shu rubbed his chin and pondered. So he still had to catch the Lu family's sheep. Ning Shu took out a bottle of spirit liquid and gave it to the servant. "Here. Thank you, thank you." The servant immediately reached out and received it with a smile. The purity of a bottle of spirit liquid was more than 20 high-grade spirit stones. Moreover, it was easier to absorb in liquid form. Ning Shu stood up and stretched. He couldn't take advantage of the Lu family for the time being. After all, the 2 secret manuals had cost the Lu family a lot. The Lu family couldn't exchange any more precious items. Even if they could, they might not be satisfied with the price. It seemed like he had to learn how to purify soul stones himself. The main system took away so many soul stones. It really made his liver hurt. He had no choice but to accept this distribution method. Now, Ning Shu had to set up a stall to exchange soul stones of lower quality. Ning Shu felt that it was very troublesome. It was easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. Moreover, he didn't have anything precious on him. The prices were as unstable as mad dogs. Therefore, Ning Shu avoided using high prices to exchange for things with high prices. He would use the spirit liquid to exchange for some ordinary soul stones first. Young master. The servant saw a young master in soul form running towards him. He rubbed his eyes. Didn't the young master have a physical body? How did he become a soul? Furthermore, it was such a weak soul. Ning Shu looked at the disheveled young master. His soul was so transparent that it was about to dissipate. TSK, TSK, TSK. Ning Shu couldn't help but think to himself. Now that you've become a soul, I want to see how you're going to do that with a beauty. When the young master saw Ning Shu, who was wearing a long dress and smiling, he immediately looked as if he had eaten a fly. He quickly wanted to enter the house, but he was surrounded by the people who had followed him. These people had weapons that targeted the soul. Not only did they want to destroy young master's physical body, they also wanted to destroy his soul. The servant's neck was suddenly choked, and he no longer dared to call him young master. Firstly, he was afraid that it would distract the young master. Secondly, these people were all very strong. He was only at the golden core stage, and he simply could not deal with these people. As for the great aunt beside him, if he remembered correctly, she had a grudge against the young master. At this time, it was already very kind of her not to join the team that surrounded the young master. Ning Shu looked at the young master's dispirited appearance with a face full of grief, indignation, and helplessness. He gritted his teeth and was full of hatred. There was also deep sadness and despair in his eyes. Don't ask how Ning Shu could tell, because he shouted, "Why do you want to kill all of us? Why? Second young master only needs to die." When Ning Shu heard this, he instantly imagined a plot of brothers fighting against each other and killing each other in the same clan. He guessed that the young master also wanted to be a hated existence in the family. The young master caught a glimpse of Ning Shu, who was watching the show from the corner of his eye. He immediately shouted, "Stupid woman, how long are you going to watch the show for? At most, I'll chase all the singers out of the mansion and leave you alone in the mansion. I'm about to be killed now. Do you have the heart to do that?" Ning Shu shrugged. The servant. "Young master, what are you talking about? Do you think that there aren't enough people who want to kill you?" The people chasing him looked at Ning Shu. She seemed to be a beauty. According to the second young master's animal, he would definitely eat her. But it was just a soul. Ning Shu pointed at the young master. "You're so fickle. Even if you die outside, I can't be bothered to care about you," Ning Shu said as she entered the door. Then, she closed the door with a bang. The young master. The servant. That great aunt must have slipped away. The young master's heart was filled with grief and indignation. He originally wanted to distract himself so that he could enter the residence. Once the powerful array inside was activated, he would be temporarily safe. Although he didn't have a physical body, where there was life, there was hope. Why didn't this damn woman follow the rules? Why didn't she quibble? Not only did she say that there was nothing between the two of them, she even closed the door from the inside. What was she doing? The young master's face was filled with despair. If his soul didn't scatter today, he would be captured and become the artifact spirit. He was even going to be used by the person he called Big Brother. He might as well die. The manservant paced around anxiously at the door and whispered through the crack of the door, "Madam, madam, don't joke around. Now it's a matter of life and death. Open the door so that the formation in the house can protect the young master." Ning Shu felt that this young master needed to be taught a lesson. It was good that he was taught a lesson. Young master, who had become a soul, could only rely on his instincts to fight. He was used to his physical body and didn't even know how to use his soul to fight. When the artifact that harmed the soul hit his body, the young master felt like his soul was about to be torn apart. The key was that his soul was getting dimmer and dimmer and was about to scatter. The servant's hair stood up and he knocked on the door furiously. "Open the door, open the door. Ning Shu used his mental strength to sweep and saw that the young master's soul was about to scatter. He snapped his fingers and the assassins were covered by a bubble-like barrier. Ning Shu pointed and the assassins felt like the blood in their bodies started to flow in the opposite direction. Their internal energy couldn't be stabilized anymore. Pu. All of them started to spit out blood. The blood vessels in their bodies swelled up like their blood was about to surge out of their bodies. The barrier slowly closed and they felt like the pressure within was getting bigger and bigger. They found it hard to breathe. Their bodies were under huge pressure and they started to spit out blood. They were about to spit out 3 liters of blood. Young Master was stunned when he saw that. He guessed that it might have been that girl who did it. But his words definitely annoyed her. Would the fuck swallow him up? Some strong soul cultivators would swallow souls. The stronger the soul, the more beneficial it would be. He really left the tiger's den and was about to enter the wolf's mouth. Who knew how that girl would treat him? Was it too late to kneel down now? Ning Shu released the barrier and these people rolled and crawled away. They didn't dare to cause trouble anymore. He hadn't even attacked and they were already like this. They couldn't beat him. Chapter 2198. Young Master looked at the door of the house and didn't have the courage to walk in. The servant hurried over to help him, but his hand went through Young Master's body. He forgot that Young Master was now a weak soul. Young Master. The servant cautiously called out to the Young Master. Did something happen when you went to the main house this time? Are you a pig? It's so obvious. Young Master said directly. Can't you see that I've become a ghost? With a creak, the door opened. Ning Shu walked out with her arms crossed. She looked at the Young Master with a smile. You said that you want to dismiss the singers in the house for me. Is that true? Young Master, there are no singers in the Young Master's mansion. Those singers are all hired from the opera house to put on a show. My Young Master is very clean. The servant quickly said. Ning Shu, Young Master, did I allow you to speak? Young Master was angry. He reached out to kick the servant, but his soul went through the servant. The servant was afraid, but seeing that Young Master couldn't do anything to him, he laughed. Young Master saw that the situation was better than him. He could only say to Ning Shu, Miss, I had no choice. Please don't take offense. To be honest, Young Master didn't want to be devoured by this woman. He was made like this. If he didn't get back, he wouldn't be able to take it. Ning Shu laughed. Her expression was disdainful. Young Master's face darkened. What expression? Hee your sister. Ning Shu thought of the first time he saw Young Master. He had a beauty in his arms and a beauty lying on the bed. That was called indulging in luxury. In the end, it was all fake. Ning Shu said, we have some debts to settle. You wanted to kill me. You got cheated on your first business deal. He didn't get cheated. It was really bad. He had just gotten away with one wave, and now he wanted to find trouble with him again. Big Brother's people wanted him dead. If he fell into the hands of this woman, would he suffer a fate worse than death? If it was a fate worse than death, he would rather die in Big Brother's hands. Ning Shu said, don't be nervous. I'm here to exchange soul stones with you. I don't have any soul stones. I've already exchanged all my soul stones with you. It seemed like he had become a spirit now. If he wanted to cultivate, he would have to absorb the energy from the soul stone. Fuck, he didn't have any soul stones. Previously, he had despised the soul stones for being useless. Now, he needed them. He wanted revenge. Then what's the use of you? Ning Shu looked at Gongzi expressionlessly. Don't forget that I saved you. I didn't ask you to save me. Young Master straightened his neck and said. Young master, don't say any more. You can't beat her. If those people were all beaten away, with young master's current state, he wouldn't even be able to stretch out his fingers. The young master was silent. Looking at Ning Shu's eyes, he finally said, "Nothing happened to you in the past." Hee, it's nothing. I'm the only one who can beat you. If I'm not strong enough, I'll be ruined and robbed. You want to rob me of my spirit liquid? Ning Shu said. You're a spirit. How can I ruin you? Who in the spirit liquid city doesn't want your spirit liquid? I'm the only one who made a move. The young master couldn't help but say with a green face. Who was so amazing to ruin a spirit? Yo, you still have reason, right? Ning Shu condensed a whip in her hand. With a snap, a loud sound rang out in the air. Are you asking for a beating? Didn't we have a deal? What do I owe you that you want to kill me? Ning Shu stared at Gongzi with a cold expression. It was as if she was going to kill a god or a Buddha. Gongzi felt that if he said something wrong, he would be whipped to death. What does this woman want to do? If you want to kill me, then kill me. Why are you being so noisy? Gongzi felt that what he did was unreasonable, but who asked you to be alone? It would be a waste not to take advantage of this situation. There were countless people in the city who wanted to snatch the spirit liquid in her hands. Say it. Ning Shu swung the whip. The whip let out a loud sound that made one's hair stand on end. How painful would it be if it hit the body? Ning Shu said, I specialize in targeting the spirit. If it hits the spirit will be torn apart many times. It's very annoying. What a vicious woman. Great aunt, what do you want? The manservant asked in horror. Could it be that she wanted to capture young master and use the whip to whip him? There wasn't such a huge hatred. Young master, you're crazy. If he knew earlier, he wouldn't have provoked this lunatic. He could use the spirit stones that he didn't exchange for. Where would he go to find spirit stones to cultivate in the future? Returning to the main house now was pretty much courting death. He didn't have spirit stones and even provoked this lunatic. His life was so bitter. What do you want? Give me a definite answer. Ning Shu beckoned to Gongzi. Come here. What? Gongzi asked hesitantly. I told you to come here. Gongzi, go over. The manservant said. Apart from showing weakness, there was no other way. Gongzi slowly moved in front of Ning Shu. Looking at the whip in Ning Shu's hand, he felt a chill down his spine. Especially when the whip shone with a dark light. I will come over. Gongzi said. And, do you know which family has more spirit stones? Ning Shu asked. Lu family. Gongzi said. His eyes rolled and he said, actually, the Li family has many too. Ning Shu looked at Gongzi's scheming face. Is the Li family your home? He wanted her to find trouble with the Li family. Gongzi touched his nose. That was what he meant. Sending out such a crazy woman who he didn't know what she was thinking was enough to annoy his brother. Who knew what she wanted so many spirit stones for? Ning Shu asked, actually, I want to toss you to mine. Mine? What was going on? He was a noble Gongzi. To ask him to mine, what kind of joke was that? Gongzi looked at Ning Shu coldly. Even if I die, I won't be controlled by you. Moreover, why should I mine? Ning Shu said, with your soul, it will dissipate in a few days. Then, you can go and die. Even if I die, I won't mine. Gongzi said directly. I have my own way to get spirit stones, so why should I mine? He was a pampered young master, and a powerful one at that. Why would he want to go mining now? That was something that only people with low strength and no strength would do. Oh. Ning Shu dragged out her last syllable. So you still have soul stones? What does that have to do with you? Gongzi frowned. Damn, a gust of wind blew over. It felt so good to blow right through his body. But looking at the woman opposite him, her dress was moving. That dress looked real and she looked real too. But she was a soul. His soul was so thin that it was about to be blown away. Chapter 2199. Ning Shu said, "Because I saved you, so now you have to repay me." "I didn't ask you to save me, so what right do you have to ask for things from me?" Young master said right away. Ning Shu's expression hardened as she whipped the young master's soul body. The young master was in so much pain that he rolled around on the ground, howling in pain. "I want to kill you now, so you need to pay for your life." Ning Shu held the whip and said. "Damn, crazy." The servant nearly knelt down. He told young master not to be stubborn, and this was the result. His soul seemed to have become even thinner. "Madam, let's talk inside, let's talk inside." The servant cupped his hands towards Ning Shu and instinctively wanted to help young master up. In the end, his hand passed through young master's body. Servant, that he felt really complicated. This great aunt had no intention of killing young master, she just wanted to get something from young master. Young master didn't know why he was so stubborn. If it were any other senior, they would have thanked him for his kindness. Why did he find this killing god so annoying? What was the point in arguing with her? He had to look at his current situation. Moreover, she wasn't weak, so why did he have to argue? Couldn't they just sit down and have a good chat? The servant felt like his heart was about to break. How would he understand young master's complicated feelings? He wanted to scold this crazy woman when he saw her, but he wasn't strong enough, so he could only rely on his pride to support himself. He was a young master and had suffered many losses in the hands of this woman. Now, she wanted to do whatever she wanted to him just because she had saved his life. How could this be? If he took a step back, this crazy woman would come looking for him if she had any problems in the future. She would want to squeeze layers and layers of oil from him. No, definitely not. A man's pride couldn't be touched. A cultivator's pride couldn't be touched. A male cultivator's pride definitely couldn't be touched. Ning Shu felt like this person was asking for a beating and had no conscience. He kicked young master. "I saved you and you didn't even say a word of thanks. Forget it, let's not interact with each other anymore." Ning Shu felt like it was pointless and didn't want to talk to young master anymore. He wouldn't cooperate with him in the future either. "I didn't ask you to save me. You saved me, and then you want me to thank you. What kind of logic is this?" The young master sneered, "You're responsible for your own decision. Why should I thank you?" Ning Shu nodded. "That's true. Everything is up to you. I don't need your thanks. Whether you thanked me or not, it didn't matter to me." Ning Shu wasn't angry at all. She could only say that she couldn't work with Gongzi. Originally, she thought that there were many souls in this plane. Perhaps she could start cultivating her own people. Fighting alone wasn't a long-term solution. Forget it then. There were benefits to working with the big clans. They would have more resources and information. As for the young master, he would not interact with him in the future. There were always people who wanted to jump out of the Nine Palace Mountain. The world outside of the Nine Palace Mountain was vast and exciting. There were always people with such ambitions. The whip turned into specks of light and merged into Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu turned around and left. Young master was confused. She left just like that. She was staring at him like she wanted to trample him. Now, she just left. Ning Shu knew that young master was arrogant. If they wanted to work together, they had to show him their strength. It seemed like this young master looked down on women, especially when he couldn't stand being defeated by her. Ning Shu actually wanted to find women. But there weren't many with high cultivation in this world. Those with low cultivation would be captured and used as cultivation vessels. Unless you had a strong background. Even if you had a strong background, you had to be careful that your Tao partner wouldn't go crazy one day and open the door to a new world to kill his wife. Destroying emotions and desires was common in the cultivation world. To cut off one's emotions and desires, one would even harm one's own family. Under such circumstances, there weren't many strong women. Moreover, some of them were focused on cultivation and wouldn't come out at all. "Senior, why are you leaving? Stay and drink a cup of spiritual tea. In any case, you saved the young master's life." The servant stopped Ning Shu and bowed. His great-aunt had even given him a bottle of spiritual liquid. Following a generous person would bring benefits. Although he didn't know why young master was so stubborn, he didn't want to offend an expert. "You are not bad. There is no need for spiritual tea. Whether or not I save him is my own matter. I don't expect him to be grateful." She felt that she had good intentions, but others might not accept it. "Senior." The servant looked at Ning Shu and then at his young master and didn't say anything. Ning Shu jumped up and flew away. Since that didn't work, then he would change. He would definitely find a suitable one. After flying to another town, Ning Shu set up a stall. He took out a bottle of spiritual liquid and wrote the exchange method on a rag. People came to exchange for spiritual liquid one after another, but the soul stones weren't good. The main reason was that the soul stones Ning Shu saw were too good. Ordinary soul stones didn't catch Ning Shu's eye at all. It was better than nothing. Ning Shu observed the situation in the town. These towns all had a very retro lifestyle. The people here pursued supreme power, but there were also many people who did not have enough to eat or warm clothes to wear. There were many beggars on the street. There were rich people, poor people, and also respected immortal masters. Everyone's fate was different. How could one jump out of the shackles of fate and live a mediocre life? The more things Ning Shu experienced, the more things settled in his heart. At that time, Ning Shu recklessly did missions and was afraid of being obliterated. Ning Shu saw a child fall in front of his stall. He raised his hand and the child was helped up by an invisible force. Ning Shu said indifferently, "A child who steals is not a good child." The child was only 7 or 8 years old. When she heard Ning Shu's words, her face was filled with fear and tears seemed to fall. "I'm not a thief, I'm not a thief." Ning Shu smiled. "A child who lies is not a good child." The little girl turned and ran. A bottle of spiritual liquid flew out from her body and back into Ning Shu's hand. The little girl's face changed and she ran even faster. However, as a punishment, the little girl couldn't speak for 3 days. Since they were exchanging for soul stones, then they were cultivators. How could they steal like this? Ning Shu put the bottle of spiritual liquid on the ground and continued to set up his stall. Ning Shu was leisurely and carefree. If there was business, he would do it. If there was nothing else, he would take out some snacks from his spatial ring and put them in front of him to eat slowly. If there was a sofa, Ning Shu would lie down on it. When the spiritual liquid exchange was finished, the sky was dark and a beautiful sunset appeared on the horizon. Chapter 2200. Ning Shu placed his hands in front of his eyes and looked into the distance, watching the setting sun. This world already had its own light and darkness, and it was already a mature world. It was already impossible to take it for his own use. Because there was a mature heavenly Tao. They would not accept any form of fusion with the heavenly Tao. Forcing it would only cause this world to collapse. Furthermore, there were so many living beings in this plane. If a person who could speak, think, and decide their fates appeared one day, they would be very repulsed. The heavenly Tao was heartless because it was indifferent and would not be biased. Therefore, it was fair. Ning Shu coveted the 9-Palace Mountain, but she also knew that her current strength wasn't enough to deal with the heavenly Tao. Moreover, if the 9-Palace Mountain collapsed, the plane's trash would pile up in her world of samsara, causing irreparable damage to her world of samsara. It might even cease to exist. If he didn't have the ability to do so, he would only end up with nothing left. There was nothing that couldn't be solved with time, and there was nothing that couldn't be solved with strength. This time, the spirit liquid had been exchanged for a lot of soul stones, but the quality was not very good. However, there was no way around it. There was no mine, and no clan like the Lu clan could produce high-quality soul stones. After all, no matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. It was better than nothing. Ning Shu opened the black hole and walked into it. He left 9-Palace Mountain and felt his world. It seemed to be getting bigger and bigger, as if it was starting to evolve into other worlds. Next to each other, a world was formed. Ning Shu discovered that the world of samsara seemed to have formed another world, becoming 2 worlds of samsara. Just like a bubble, the 2 of them were next to each other and connected together like conjoined twins. Ning Shu was horrified. Who asked you to grow so blindly? You should develop a world first, and then we'll talk about it after you succeed. If this world collapsed, where would she put the 9-Palace Mountain? Furthermore, she had no way of taking the 9-Palace Mountain away. Without the 9-Palace Mountain, there would be no source of soul stones. Ning Shu felt that his entire body was not too good. Could it be because this world had fused with the Mirage Stone, causing the Mirage Stone to form one illusion after another? These illusions were all short-lived worlds, just like a person dreaming. That was why this world was growing so crazily. Was it like picking up grapes? The world was densely packed with grapes. Everyone was growing crazily together, squeezing each other. In the end, they couldn't contain it and something happened. Ning Shu returned to the system space as if his butt was on fire. The system space was filled with bottles of elixir. Ning Shu tiptoed and jumped onto the sofa. He said to 2333 anxiously, "There is a problem in the world of samsara. Do you have the contact information of His Excellency?" "Nope." Ning Shu clutched his head in despair. These big shots were really interesting. Every time he tried to contact them, they would immediately disappear. It was as if they had the guts to contact him, but he was not allowed to contact him on his own accord. He was afraid of being coquettish. There was a hint of disturbance. She would have to consult the Abyssal Prefect about this matter. There were many secrets in this world, and she didn't know everything. Could it be that she went to ask for the silver-haired man's contact information? Now the silver-haired man probably didn't even do his small business. He must be busy with other things. He probably followed the judge to rob houses everywhere. How can I find the Abyssal Prefect? Abyssal Prefect, can you hear me? Ning Shu went to the City of Water and went to the silver-haired man's consultation room. Well, there was no one in the consultation room as expected. 2333 said, "Do you want me to help you contact the judge and let her contact the Abyssal Prefect?" Ning Shu showed a look of disdain. "The judge may not pay attention to you." Ning Shu's brain spun and returned to the system space. He asked 2333 to send the soul stone he exchanged this time to the main system to be purified. 2333 screamed, "I haven't seen such a poor quality soul stone in a long time." Ning Shu was speechless. See, he was used to it. He had seen too many good things. Now that he saw an average quality soul stone, he suddenly screamed. "Send it to the main system." Ning Shu said to 2333. Sigh. 2333 sighed and took the soul stone away. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the sofa and opened the chat system, waiting for the main system to send him a message. After a while, the main system sent a few question marks, asking, "Why is the quality so poor this time?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Sure enough, they were all hard to please. Just be responsible for the purification. Why do you care about the quality of the soul stone? Main system, the soul stone this time is a waste. Ning Shu. No. Waste? Ning Shu quickly changed the topic. There's a problem with my world of reincarnation. I want to find the Abyssal Prefect. I have a question to ask him. Can you give me his contact information? Main system, what's the problem? It seemed that if he didn't explain clearly, the main system wouldn't help him contact the Abyssal Prefect. The Abyssal Prefect should be very clear about this kind of hell, no, the world of reincarnation. In the past, there was still the black-hearted silver-haired man to ask, but now there was no way to ask. Things that could be solved with money were not a big deal. The most terrible thing was this kind of situation where there was no way to ask for help. Ning Shu, my world has evolved into another world, so I would like to ask about it. Ning Shu felt that he should set up a special consultation website. Spending money to consult was also a good choice. The main system was silent for a while and gave Ning Shu the contact information of the Abyssal Prefect. Ning Shu wanted to add him as a friend, but he found that he didn't have the right to do so. This was too fucking embarrassing. Ning Shu greeted the Abyssal Prefect and directly told him about the situation in his world. He wanted to ask him to help see what was going on in the world. The Abyssal Prefect didn't reply. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the sofa, holding his chin with his hand and looking helpless. He clicked on the exchange store of the system. He felt that there was some information that the organization didn't disclose. For example, when he was a junior mission enforcer, he didn't know what the world building was. Even if he knew, it was useless. One class knew about another class. Ning Shu silently felt that he was about to enter another class. There were many things that he was ignorant of because he didn't know anything about the higher class. Looking through the exchange store of the system, he found that the exchange store of the system seemed to be able to be upgraded. He could upgrade it by spending 50 merit points for a data package. Ning Shu couldn't resist spending 50 merit points to upgrade it. Well, Ning Shu looked again. There seemed to be more variety and more fancy. The price seemed to be more expensive than before. It was 4 times the price before, but now it seemed to be more expensive. So after the update, the things inside were more expensive. It was at least 1% more expensive. On the basis of 4 times the price, it was another 1% more expensive. Things that cost 100 merit points now cost 101 merit points. What a scam! Ning Shu really wanted to smash the system store. He was so angry that he laughed. Chapter 2201. The schemes were as deep as the ocean. Some mission takers with obsessive-compulsive disorder couldn't help but click on the upgrade window when they saw it. Upgrading required money, and the upgraded product seemed to be even more expensive. Maybe it was because the product was upgraded, so it was more expensive. In any case, Ning Shu only saw that in order to earn money, the schemes were getting deeper and deeper. Ning Shu's head hurt. Ning Shu closed the system store helplessly. He felt hurt every time he looked at it. His Excellency still hadn't replied to his message. Most probably, she was busy and didn't see his message. Ning Shu could only wait like this. What if she replied that she wasn't here anymore? The most important thing now was his own world. It concerned the 9 Palace Mountain, and the 9 Palace Mountain concerned her supplies. Also, this black hole had swallowed so many things that Ning Shu couldn't even count them. If something really happened, Ning Shu would vomit blood. As for missions, he wouldn't do them for now. If nothing happened to the world, Ning Shu felt that he should go to the City of Space to learn the spatial laws. He would head to the 9 Palace Mountain after he learned the spatial laws. But the problem was that the 9 Palace Mountain might not be able to survive. She had no way to merge with the 9 Palace Mountain. If the world collapsed, the 9-palace mountain would definitely disappear as well. Ning Shu felt his heart aching. Things happened so suddenly that he was caught off guard. With a ding-dong, the chatting system rang out. Ning Shu woke up and hurriedly took a look. It was His Excellency who replied, asking him where he was and asking him to meet at Little Silver's shop. Ning Shu clasped his hands together and did a gesture of gratitude. He flew to the City of Water and went to the consultation room. There was no one in the consultation room. Ning Shu just waited. After a long while, His Excellency finally came. His Excellency was still pale. His face was pale, his hands were pale, and his neck was pale. However, he was wearing a dark-colored robe, making him seem even paler. "Sorry, I'm late." His Excellency sat down. Of course, Ning Shu didn't think that the Abyssal Prefect was really apologizing to her. It was just a statement, not an apology. These were all minor details, so there was no need to pay attention to them. Ning Shu said, "Thank you for coming. I've been thinking about this matter for a long time, and only you can answer the fear in my heart. If it weren't for the accident, I would never have bothered you." Since the other party was being polite, Ning Shu had to be polite too. Si Tian crossed his pale fingers casually, and the veins on the back of his hands bulged slightly. It was a pair of beautiful hands. He asked Ning Shu, "What's the problem? Has the rebirth pool evolved?" Ning Shu, "No. It's an extra world. I'm afraid that something might happen. That's why I'm so worried right now," Ning Shu said. "I see. Do you mind if I head over to take a look?" Abyssal Prefect asked. Sure. That was exactly what she wanted. She was so gentlemanly that Ning Shu didn't know what to say. Facing a gentlemanly person really made her feel a little uncomfortable. As the person in charge of hell, she was still so polite. Could it be that under this pale skin was some kind of destructive Wuxia? Ning Shu opened the black hole and walked into the world with Abyssal Prefect. They walked into the derived world. This derived world was exactly the same as the other world. The two worlds were the same, except that this derived world didn't have 9-palace mountain. The sky was dark and gloomy, and the ground was black. There was no end. Ning Shu followed beside Abyssal Prefect. Stepping on the black sand, he observed Abyssal Prefect's expression, trying to figure out whether this was a good thing or a bad thing from her expression. However, Abyssal Prefect had a calm expression from beginning to end. Ning Shu couldn't reach this level of calmness. When would she be able to reach this level of calmness where everything was under her control? Ning Shu hoped that this was a good thing. It was good to have more worlds. However, he was afraid that it would become a disaster if it continued to grow. Abyssal Prefect didn't speak much along the way. Ning Shu could only follow her and observe this derived world. "Let's go back and talk." The Chief of Heaven opened the door with complicated patterns and walked in. She disappeared. Ning Shu also hurriedly followed her out of the black hole. He asked Abyssal Prefect sitting on the chair, "Will it be fine?" "It's fine. It's a good thing. Just like a tree, it will take root and sprout. It will grow branches, and leaves. Some of the branches will sprout, and some will die. Do you understand?" Ning Shu thought for a moment and asked tentatively, "You're saying that my world, it sprouted?" "You can say that. Since it's a tree, it needs all kinds of nutrients. If it doesn't have enough, it will die in the end. Do you understand?" Abyssal Prefect asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu's heart was shocked. "Oh my God, are we going to start feeding the world now? Is the world not eating enough?" Ning Shu felt that she had to start living a more miserable life again. She had to tighten her belt. Who knew what the world wanted to eat? "You're saying that my plane may derive many worlds?" Ning Shu asked Abyssal Prefect. He was really surprised and happy. He only felt that it was very important. According to my calculations, quite a number of worlds will be formed. However, if the worlds run out of energy, they won't be able to bear the burden and will eventually collapse. You'll have to pay the price for the resulting world garbage and broken spatial walls, Abyssal Prefect said unhurriedly. Now, there was only shock. There was no joy at all. I want to know, what kind of energy do they need? Ning Shu asked. If the reincarnation pool forms in the main world, it will be easy. The reincarnation pool can not only deprive the souls of their memories and emotions, but also deprive a part of their soul power for their own use. This is the source of the power of the world of samsara. In a normal world of samsara, there will be a few huge reincarnation pools. Abyssal Prefect said, if your world doesn't have a source of power, it will continue to be weak. Now that it has sprouted, you can imagine the consequences. This seed might wither and rot, never to grow again. Ning Shu, I'm already scared. Don't scare me anymore. This wasn't a good thing, okay? Abyssal Prefect seemed to be comforting Ning Shu. Actually, this world of samsara is not bad. In the future, no matter how many worlds you form, it will correspond to how many world of samsara it will form. One yang, one yin. Ning Shu's face was filled with despair. This was equivalent to telling him that this kid would be so handsome when he grew up. But now, he was going to die. He didn't know if he could come back to life. So what if he was handsome? So what if he was amazing? He couldn't pass this stage. It needed soul power. Fuck. Ning Shu was really in despair. Did he have to throw soul stones into this world often? Who knew if he could absorb the soul power in the soul stones? Ning Shu would rather hope that the world would evolve and not grow so quickly. Without enough energy, there was no point in being anxious. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.